Almighty stay-at-home dad, starting with twins. Fate played a big joke on Bai Yu. Before crossing over, he was 35 years old, worth hundreds of millions, had a virtuous wife, and was blessed with a son and a daughter. After crossing over, he grew up alone, just graduated, penniless, and his girlfriend broke up with him. At this time, the Ganjiang Road Maternal and Child Health Hospital called. Bai Yu, your girlfriend is giving birth and needs your signature. Chapter 1, Girlfriend. Mournful tribute to Mr. Sima Rui. Famous entrepreneur, Go Master, and chairman of the Chirue Go Education, Mr. Sima Rui passed away last night in Huating. We deeply mourn his passing. Mournful tribute to Mr. Luo Yuchen. Famous calligraphy master, vice president of the Calligraphy Association, Mr. Luo Yuchen passed away last night in the capital. Mournful tribute. Several messages followed one after another, accumulated over the past 2 or 3 days. Ordinary people might not know much about these celebrities, but for those in the circles, the news cast a shadow. For example, Mr. Sima Rui had passed away at the age of 101. He was a leading figure in modern Go, and had once single-handedly reversed the tide by defeating 5 top foreign players at the Southeast Asia Chess Saint Cup, making the Chinese Go community proud and proving that Go was not dead in China. Mr. Sima Rui was a hero of his time, and heroes deserved to be treated as such. Everyone knew him, and that made him a hero. As for Mr. Luo Yuchen, he was universally recognized as the #1 in cursive calligraphy. To put it simply, Mr. Luo was the undisputed master of cursive writing. Under each news, there were countless messages from enthusiasts from various circles. May the master rest in peace. Rest in peace, great master. Of course, there were also many netizens who had no idea who these people were but still commented just to join the trend. Bai Yu flipped through these several times, then closed his eyes. Inheritance. As he silently murmured, an overwhelming flow of information surged into his mind. There was no pain, no swelling, just a subtle and silent permeation. The vast amount of information traveled through the depths of his mind, gradually adding a lot of new things. Of course, this wasn't a complete memory, it was more like skills. Before this, Bai Yu couldn't even play Go, but now, he had reached a professional level. Naturally, he could also write beautifully and skillfully, astonishing everyone with his brushwork. Inheritance system. This system was something Bai Yu had obtained 10 months ago after arriving in this world. At first, he thought it was a system for inheriting wealth or property, but later realized it was a system for inheriting things that others couldn't inherit. For example, after someone passes away, they leave behind visible and tangible inheritances like money, antiques, and properties. These are commonly called tangible inheritances. But there are also intangible inheritances, such as knowledge, spirit, and thoughts, which the descendants can't inherit. However, Bai Yu could inherit these intangible things through this system. For instance, the first inheritance he received was the singing ability of a famous singer in the music industry. He also inherited the stock trading abilities of a stock market genius who had passed away due to illness. This time, Bai Yu inherited the cursive calligraphy skills of Mr. Luo Yuchen and the Go skills of Mr. Sima Rui. Not bad. There's an old saying, having many skills doesn't hurt, but another saying goes, too many skills don't support a family. But this doesn't apply to Bai Yu. The skills he inherited weren't the full abilities of the deceased, but they were generally around 90% of their skills. Moreover, the people he chose to inherit from were all top talents in their respective fields. With just half of their abilities, he could easily make a living, not to mention inheriting 90%. In the past 10 months, Bai Yu didn't know how many people's skills he had inherited. If the attributes were the same, these skills could be stacked. For example, if 2 people were pianists, the skills would be doubled. Just like now, his piano skills were already world-class. And of course, such skills could be continuously improved. World-class culinary skills, world-class piano skills, world-class singing abilities, world-class agricultural research. His resume was so long he didn't even know what he couldn't do. Oh, he still didn't know how to have children. Sigh. The scent of malt filled the air. Bai Yu tilted his head back, sipping on some wine, his gaze blurry. Before him, a bright red screen showed the stocks he had picked were all rising. At least 10,000 or 20,000 in profit today. He had only started stock trading a month ago, with an initial capital of just 20,000 yuan. Now, his stock portfolio was worth more than 800,000 yuan. In just 1 month, he had made a 40-fold return, thanks to the inherited skills. However, Bai Yu didn't trade stocks purely for money. It was more out of boredom and a way to improve his own life in the process. There's a saying that's quite interesting: I'm not interested in money. Bai Yu had the right to say that. After all, in his past life, at the age of 35, he was worth billions. He had a virtuous wife and 2 children, twins, a son and a daughter. But who could have predicted he would die at such a young age? Even though he had been in this world for 10 months now, every late night, the images and voices of his wife and children still appeared vividly in his mind. It seemed as though they were still by his side. But when he woke up the next morning, facing the glaring sunlight and the empty room in the strange, yet familiar city, everything reminded him to face reality. His wife and children, it seemed, would never be seen again. Money didn't matter anymore. Bai Yu couldn't muster any interest in anything. He had been holed up in this apartment for almost 2 months, spending his days in a drunken haze. In the mirror, he didn't look well. His eyes were heavy with dark circles, his hair was long and messy, hanging down over one eye, while the other was bloodshot. Luckily, he was young and healthy enough to handle it. Ding ding ding. Suddenly, his phone on the left vibrated. It was from a phone brand called Pineapple, which was considered a major brand in this world. The phone was old, having been used for more than 2 years, with the metallic frame scratched up. The screen was cracked, flashing with a strange number. Bai Yu glanced at it, then looked away, taking another sip of his drink. He opened a document on his desk, and soon, a photo-like realistic portrait appeared on the screen. It was a family of 4, all wearing matching outfits. The man, elegant and amiable, with glasses and a smiling face, was in his early 30s, tall and handsome, holding a baby. Next to him, a woman, half a head shorter than him, with long hair cascading down her shoulders, was also holding a baby in her arms. She leaned slightly on the man, a blissful smile on her lips. This was Bai Yu's family in his previous life. He had a virtuous wife and twin children, just 3 months old. A complete, happy family had only just begun. But he couldn't go back. He would never go back. Time is the most ruthless and heartless. He feared that one day, the faces of his wife and children would blur in his mind, so he used his world-class drawing skills to paint this family portrait. Ding ding ding. The phone rang again. It was the same unknown number. Bai Yu felt inexplicably irritated. He casually hung up the phone and sank back into his chair like a lump of flesh. His mind was filled with the past. Perhaps thinking about happier times, his lips curled slightly into a smile, his eyes glazed over. But the ringtone rang again. Still the same strange number, ringing urgently and sharply. Bai Yu gritted his teeth, answered the phone. Speak. Is this Mr. Bai? Please come to the Ganjiang Road Maternal and Child Health Hospital immediately. Your girlfriend is in labor and needs you. Click. Before the person could finish speaking, Bai Yu hung up, not caring about this matter at all. Girlfriend in labor. Clearly, it was some scam artist from who knows where. But before Bai Yu could take another sip, the phone rang again. Chapter 2, The Twins. The number hadn't changed, and the ringtone persisted. However, when he answered the phone this time, the voice on the other end had changed. It was still a woman's voice, but it now sounded weak, fragile, confused, and with a hint of expectation, like the last cry of someone swallowed by darkness, desperate, alone, and helpless. Bai Yu, I'm about to give birth. I'm at the Ganjiang Road Maternity and Child Care Hospital. I need you to sign the papers. The child is yours. Heh. Bai Yu laughed lightly. I'm Wang Lina. The call ended abruptly, but this time, it wasn't Bai Yu who hung up, as he hadn't had the chance to respond. The woman's voice had been broken and intermittent, each sentence followed by heavy breaths, trembling with fear and uncertainty. It was clear that she was very lonely, frightened, needing comfort, care, and concern. Bai Yu wasn't some naive young man. Even though he had only lived for 35 years in his past life, it had been a life full of ups and downs. He had seen many frauds, but also witnessed genuine emotions. How could he let a random phone call tug at his heartstrings and make him feel sorrowful, anxious, or unsure? However, the name that the woman had uttered just before hanging up made Bai Yu pause for a moment. Wang Lina. It seemed familiar. Deep in his memory, some forgotten or insignificant images began to surface. Huaqian Drama Academy. That was Bai Yu's alma mater. He had graduated last year with a degree in drama literature, and Wang Liner was a name he recognized from his time there. That face. Bai Yu suddenly sat up straight, and the memory became clearer and clearer, or rather, the face of that girl became clearer and clearer. She resembled his wife by about 60 to 70%. He trembled, and then a flood of memories related to her began to emerge. She was a talented girl from the music department, the department's top student. In her sophomore year, she won first place in a singing competition, and in the latter half of the semester, her song Flying Flowers dominated the new song charts for 2 full weeks. She could write, she could sing, and some of her peers predicted a bright future for her. Such a woman was naturally captivating. Even though Bai Yu was in a different department and had only met her a few times, he had still been drawn to her. Of course, it was nothing more than a simple attraction. Just like any man, Bai Yu also appreciated beautiful women. He remembered her performance at a cultural event, where she sang solo in a white dress. She had been the dream girl of countless male students. As for meaningful communication between them, Bai Yu sat up straighter. A half-formed memory surfaced, blending the lines between dream and reality. It was from the early days when he had first arrived in this strange world, recently separated from his wife and children, and had started drowning his sorrows in alcohol. He couldn't remember exactly when, but he vaguely recalled that it was a summer night. A gentle breeze swept across the river, and neon lights shimmered on the boats speeding along. Laughter echoed from the boat, but Bai Yu, half drunk, felt like he was about to fall into the river. It seemed someone had pulled him back onto the boat. That person had been Wang Liner. Her face, through his blurred vision, sent a shiver down his spine. Had he called out for his wife? At the time, Wang Liner had probably also been drinking. She had cried out loud, comforting him. The next morning, he had woken up alone in his rented apartment. He had always thought it was a dream, or perhaps a confused memory, or simply a longing for his wife. But now, he began to wonder if that night had actually happened. Grabbing his keys, Bai Yu rushed out of his apartment. Huaqian was a massive city with a population of over 20 million. By night, it would come alive with its attractions, showing off the city's glamour. Under the neon lights, countless people sought pleasure and love. But Bai Yu had no time for that now. After repeatedly urging the taxi driver, Bai Yu finally arrived at the hospital and inquired about Wang Liner at the reception. He rushed to the maternity ward. The door was closed, and the hallway was eerily quiet. There were a few other people standing nearby, their expressions serious. Clearly, there were other families in the same situation. Someone emerged from the room, and a family rushed forward. The nurse announced that both mother and baby were safe. The family smiled, some looking at the baby, others at the mother. "Has Wang Liner's family arrived yet?" A nurse called out, holding a clipboard. Bai Yu quickly stepped forward. "I'm here." "You're Bai Yu?" The nurse eyed him carefully. Though her face was hidden behind a mask, her frown and the accusatory tone in her voice were unmistakable. "How could you do this? Not only did your girlfriend get pregnant out of wedlock, but you also tried to avoid responsibility for such an important matter. Humph, don't think you can just play with someone's feelings because you're handsome. She's already had the baby. I suggest you start acting like an adult." The nurse rattled on, then handed him the clipboard. Bai Yu glanced at it. C-section. No wonder. He quickly signed his name and apologized to the nurse. He recognized her voice. She must have been the one who called him earlier. Twins. When Bai Yu noticed the information on the paper, he froze. He had just had twins in his previous life, but they had been taken away from him so suddenly. And now, twins again. Of course, Bai Yu wasn't completely convinced by Wang Liner's words. They had known each other for a long time, but had hardly communicated. When a woman suddenly calls to say she is carrying your child, and that she is going to give birth, you have to be cautious. After all, it wasn't uncommon for men to be suddenly told they were fathers. But he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. Could this really be his child? Right now, Bai Yu felt like a drifting reed in the vast ocean of society, without a starting point or destination. He was aimlessly floating, battered by the winds and waves, drifting wherever they took him. With no clear purpose, he had given up, succumbing to the confusion uncertainty, and helplessness that surrounded him. Maybe the sound of a baby crying was the perfect distraction. Finally, the door opened again. Two nurses wheeled out the new mother. One of the nurses called out, "Wang Lina's family." Bai Yu's heart tightened. He hesitated for a moment, not out of doubt, but from an inexplicable fear. But in the end, he still walked forward with determination. The woman on the bed looked pale and exhausted, her eyes half open in a daze. The anesthesia had clearly not worn off yet. Because of the C-section, she was covered in sweat, her hair sticking to her face, making her look even softer. He gently brushed her hair aside, trembling slightly as he did. She really looked like her. Especially in this state, and with the C-section. Brother, 49 centimeters, 2,853 grams, born at 1953. Sister, 47 centimeters, 2,700 grams, born at 1953. A nurse passed by, pushing a cart with two tiny babies lying inside. She spoke as she walked past. Twins. Bai Yu stood frozen for a moment, then quickly grabbed hold of the cart. The babies were wrinkled and unattractive, looking like tiny monkeys. Fortunately, Bai Yu had seen such a scene before. But his mind was blank. A wife who looked 6 or 7 parts like his own, and now a pair of twins? What was this? A compensation. Chapter 3, The First Conversation. In his memory, she seemed like a classical woman both in appearance and temperament. Her face was full and rounded, with soft features and a dignified grace. She moved with a calm, steady pace, unaffected by changes, clearly someone who had received good education, especially from her family. This must have been influenced by her parents' subtle teachings when she was young. Typically, a pregnant woman gains a little weight enough to make her slightly rounder. But that wasn't the case here. Her originally round, jade-like face had transformed into a V shape, with a pointed chin. Her complexion had darkened, revealing a clear inner bitterness. Clearly, her life after pregnancy hadn't been easy. This wasn't necessarily about financial struggles after all. Wang Lina's son, Fei Hua, had earned her a good amount of money, and her aura suggested a well-off family background. But for a young woman, unexpectedly pregnant and choosing to keep the baby, the mental and emotional turmoil over the past few months must have been unimaginable to others. This was what puzzled Bai Yu. She was still young, just 23, right in the prime of her life. Even if she had discovered she was pregnant, the rational choice would have been to terminate the pregnancy. But why had she chosen to give birth? Was it due to faith? Or was there something deeper at play? Bai Yu couldn't say. With twins and a cesarean, Wang Lina's body was exhausted. She fell into a deep sleep once in her hospital room. They shared a brief look, but her eyes were empty, full of fatigue and worry, and her gaze seemed to say that she was alone. Bai Yu wasn't a novice in these matters. He had been through a similar experience before helping with twins and a cesarean. But back then, the parents were present, and he had little involvement. Now, he had to handle everything himself. He was more than willing to do so. The twins were lighter than expected, and there were nurses to attend to them, checking their vitals and giving them vaccines. A study once showed that families with twins, especially dragon and phoenix twins, had the highest happiness index. It was something many people envied. Wow, dragon and phoenix twins, you're so lucky. How adorable. Did the brother come out first or the sister? Everything in one go, so enviable. Hey, young man, why are you the only one here? An enthusiastic older woman came up to offer help. She was chubby and cheerful, saying she had come with her son-in-law and was here for her daughter-in-law who had just given birth to a son. A group of people had gathered, looking at their own child. This baby isn't that fragile when it's born. Don't look at the nurses handling them like toys, they are doing it for their good. By the way, why haven't you called for the elders to come? The baby needs experienced people to take care of them. Of course, and the mother too. Dragon and phoenix twins are a great joy, but the mother suffers the most, and the family should take care of her after birth. Don't let her suffer. Noticing Bai Yu's helplessness, the older woman quickly stepped in to help. Her son, tall and thin, wearing glasses, looked polite and was cutting fruit for his wife, who had delivered naturally. She looked a little pale but was otherwise in good spirits, sitting up, occasionally glancing at her baby, with envy in her eyes as she watched Bai Yu. She muttered to herself, perhaps unhappy with her husband's lack of ambition, and comparing her situation to Bai Yu's, one child for her, while he got twins. Hey, why are you the only one here? The older woman asked again. Her daughter-in-law, sensing something, quickly pulled her back. They shared a hospital room. While others occasionally visited, pregnancy was a different matter. Everyone ate and slept together. She had never seen Wang Liner's relatives. Not a single one. It was mostly the nurses who had been helping. Now, there was someone claiming to be her husband, but clearly, something was off. The older woman caught the hint from her daughter-in-law, smiled, and changed the topic, talking about how cute the babies were and how enviable Dragon and Phoenix twins were. She also occasionally hinted that Bai Yu should take good care of his wife. Bai Yu just nodded along, looking like the obedient younger generation. You're awake. When Wang Liner opened her eyes, they met Bai Yu's gaze, calm and composed. She almost forgot this face, or rather, she had wanted to forget it. But fate had a way of playing tricks, and some things were impossible to forget the more you tried. For a woman, pregnancy was like getting remarried. Although they were classmates, they had never really interacted much. They weren't even in the same department, and college life was busy. Sometimes, even after years, people didn't know all their classmates. Who would have thought that someone who had lived a clean, disciplined life for over 20 years would, with just one mistake, face such a devastating blow? The child is yours. The doctor said my body is too weak. If I terminate this pregnancy, I may never be able to conceive again. Her voice was firm, but filled with sadness and unwillingness. But this wasn't the old-fashioned times where a traditional family would insist on giving birth no matter the situation. Wang Liner's thin body and the possible future infertility were her real fears. She wasn't against marriage or having children. To her, getting married and having children was the ideal life. That was why she had chosen to keep the baby. I didn't want to tell you, except for the fact that I needed your signature for the cesarean. Wang Liner wasn't sure what to say, or how to communicate with Bai Yu. This had all been an accident, and neither of them really knew much about each other. Oh, that's not entirely true. After finding out she was pregnant, she spent a lot of time thinking and had even checked Bai Yu's background. In the end, she had decided to raise the child alone. This was partly due to Bai Yu's situation. He was an orphan, introverted, and just graduated, telling him wouldn't change much. Still, there was some resentment towards Bai Yu. After all, half of the responsibility for this situation fell on him. Their blame didn't matter anymore. But right now, she just wanted to tell him that the child was his. Don't worry, I won't ask you to take responsibility. I won't hold anything against you. Once I'm discharged, I'll take the child and leave. I won't trouble you. She had carried the child for 10 months, and the hardships were immense. She said she wouldn't ask for responsibility, but as she saw Bai Yu remain silent, her own bitterness and disappointment grew. Bai Yu understood. His previous suspicions were confirmed, but it wasn't a surprise to him. As for the child, whether or not the baby was his couldn't be decided by just one statement from Wang Liner. He only trusted science. After all, there was no emotional foundation between him and Wang Liner. As for the beautiful woman, he had seen many like her, and he wasn't interested in raising someone else's child. Of course, he could also hear the sadness in her voice. So, he picked up the prepared nutrition drink. You've worked hard. Drink something to nourish yourself. Chapter 4, Not Starving. It feels a little different, but even if my memory is fuzzy, the difference shouldn't be that big. Especially the demeanor and behavior. It was a little strange that he seemed so nervous and at a loss as to not notice it. She doesn't think there is much difference between men and women. Especially when faced with the matter of suddenly becoming parents, most people will be confused and feel the heavy responsibility coming at them all of a sudden. Of course, there are always scumbags in this world who will run away after doing something and refuse to admit their mistakes no matter what. This does not distinguish between men and women. After all, some people give birth to children and just leave them in the women's restroom and run away. What a hard heart. But most of them are good, they just become silent, just like men have to bear most of the responsibilities, milk powder, diapers and so on, which all cost money. This is also why there is a saying that a man who has a child becomes an adult overnight. Wang Liner had a cesarean section and was a new mother. In addition, she had been in the hospital alone, so it was naturally impossible for her to buy supplies for her child. baby clothes, diapers, towels, etc. I went to a baby store and bought suitable pacifiers, small cups, small spoons, etc. As for milk powder, I also bought a can. Bai Yu didn't pay attention to how much capital Wang Liner had, but when she thought of her 2 children, she bought it anyway. As for the crib and the like, let's talk about it after you are discharged from the hospital. When Bai Yu was carrying the bags back to the ward, she happened to see Wang Liner holding the child, and the young nurse was shedding tears of envy beside her. This new mother has so much capital that both her 2 children will not go hungry. Seeing Bai Yu coming back, the young nurse gave her some special instructions. You must not run around. Not only the children need to be taken care of now, but the adults too. Can you cook? If not, then go find a restaurant and ask them to make some chicken soup or something to give you some nutrition. Also, the master was stabbed and has difficulty getting up during this period. You have to take care of him 24 hours a day. And it's best to ask an adult from home to come. The young nurse was obviously already familiar with Wang Liner. She said the last sentence after some hesitation, and it was obvious that she knew something about what was going on between the 2 of them. After all, it was such an old age for them to have children, and there were only 2 young people. Moreover, after the child is born, various certificates will be required, but unfortunately the couple had the child out of wedlock. The young nurse left with her hands in her pockets. Bai Yu put all the things in the small cabinet and drew the curtain on the side. Wang Liner was probably a little shy, especially when the child was nuzzling in her arms like a little pig, revealing a large area of white skin, not to mention that Bai Yu was right beside her. Although they both had a child, it was just an accident after all. She was introverted and felt embarrassed to breastfeed in front of other women, let alone in front of Bai Yu. But the little guy kept biting his mouth and refused to let go. As a mother, it was impossible for her to force the child away. She could only pull her clothes and try to cover it up. Bai Yu only took a glance and immediately knew that the 2 children would not be hungry, and this can of milk powder would probably become a decoration. Moreover, he forgot to buy a breast pump. With Wang Liner's size, there would probably be some breast milk left over even after feeding 2 children, which would inevitably cause bloating. Although Wang Liner has lost weight, she is still very beautiful, especially her temperament. She used to be more dignified and generous, but now she has a kind of morbid softness. Beauty is in the bones. She was born with good capital. She just frowned from time to time and would not look up at Bai Yu. She found that during the 8th to 9th month of her pregnancy, she had been in a daze and under high pressure. Especially after deciding to have a baby, she completely cut off contact with everyone, even hiding the truth from her best friend. A person lives in this bustling city with a big belly, and never leaves their house, just for the birth of the baby today. She herself didn't know how she got through more than 200 days and nights. But now, seeing the little guy sucking hard, a gentle maternal expression appeared on her face. Maybe because they were all hungry, my sister started crying too. Wang Liner looked embarrassed, but saw Bai Yu holding her sister and handing her over. That means. Of course it's obvious, breastfeeding. There were 2 children, 1 on each side, and neither of them would be left behind. It was just that the 2 children seemed to be competing with each other, taking a bite from each other. My heavy chest was a little painful and it felt weird. But more often than not, it's embarrassing. The snow-white chest could no longer be covered, so Wang Liner closed her eyes and Wang Ban breastfed with his eyes closed. As long as I can't see it, you can't see it. After tossing and turning until midnight, the ward finally became quiet. The 2 little ones fell asleep, and Wang Liner also fell into a deep sleep. She didn't know what she dreamed about, and her cheeks were wrinkled. Bai Yu stood in front of the window, looking at the neon lights outside, with an expression that showed no sadness or joy. He needed a result. Although the matter with Wang Liner was a coincidence and the timing seemed to match, he could not feel at ease until he saw the conclusion. But it still feels strange. Perhaps it was because the father and son had a mutual understanding that made him feel that this matter was most likely true. Take a deep breath and close your eyes to rest. If it's true, then he will need a lot of money next. A wife and children, at least give them a home. 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, at least 120 square meters. In a big city like Huating, a house of 120 square meters would cost at least more than 7 million. As for the decoration, it is worth tens of millions. In addition to their house, there is also the car, and the subsequent expenses for the children are also a lot of money. It's still in time, it's still in time. In the back of your mind, quickly organize your skills. If you want to make tens of millions in a short period of time, there is only one industry: finance. In the financial industry, the only way to leverage big capital is through speculative stock trading. After all, it is impossible for him to leave his children and Wang Liner to go out to work. Bai Yu has been making pocket money in the A-share market, but now he needs to find a few hot stocks and enter the market with 800,000 yuan of funds to make a big move. This time he is serious. He had never paid much attention to system matters before. After all, he had been in a daze for 10 months and had no time to pay attention to them. Now I have completely chosen the stock trading skill. He already has the title of the world's #1, but he himself doesn't know how strong he is. After a long journey on the Science and Technology Innovation Board, Bai Yu found a stock. HT Technology. The stock price has hit the daily limit for 4 consecutive days, from 7.6 yuan share to the current 5 yuan share, right down to the bottom. With tens of millions of orders under pressure, whoever touches it will die. But Bai Yu still saw some signs from various data and industry fluctuations. This stock should usher in a wave of sharp rises, or even have consecutive daily limit increases. He spent the whole night checking the information of this stock. Finally, he confirmed his guess and directly added it to his favorites. He was also very sure that this stock would become a monster stock. Success or failure depends on this time. Chapter 5: Society is dead. You didn't sleep. Wang Liner was awakened by the pain. The curtains were half open, and the sky was filled with bright morning glow, which even dyed Bai Chong a little red. The ward was quiet and there was no movement. There was no one by the bed, and her heart tightened. Although Bai Yu had some resentment, this was the moment when she was weakest and needed someone to comfort her the most. Even though this man seemed to give her a strange and distant feeling, it still comforted her a lot. Now she opened her eyes and saw no one, and her heart was suddenly in turmoil. Are you gone? He wouldn't really leave. In fact, before going to bed last night, she had been thinking about how to deal with the relationship between them. What else can I do now that I have a child? She already knew Bai Yu's family, and in the past 20 years, she really had no one she liked. She is not a person who does not believe in marriage. If they understand each other, do not dislike each other, and feel it is a good match, then when the time is right, it may not be impossible to get a marriage certificate. But I'm afraid Bai Yu will be wronged by then. After all, the two families are very different. But with the child around, I believe there will be less opposition from her family. But now. Oh, the person didn't he leave? While she was daydreaming, Bai Yu came back. When Wang Liner saw what he had in his hand, her face suddenly turned red. Urine bag. Because it was a cesarean section, she defecated and urinated in bed. She couldn't bear it last night, but she didn't want to trouble Bai Yu. Finding that he didn't seem to notice that he was awake, he secretly stared at Bai Yu. After he cleaned up, he washed the child's butt and changed his diaper. She was gentle and skillful, and it didn't seem like it was her first time taking care of someone. She would also tease the child from time to time, and the smile on her face was something she had never seen before. Are you hungry? As I was peeking, someone suddenly turned around and asked. Are? Wang Liner was startled and wanted to close her eyes, but it was too late. She could only smile awkwardly and shook her head. No, no. Her brain had shut down, but then she saw Bai Yu sitting down beside the bed. In front of her surprised gaze, he reached into the quilt and gently massaged her lower abdomen with his palm. Is it swollen? A little bit. Wang Liner had forgotten to think and responded like a machine. Bai Yu once inherited the skills of a neurosurgeon, but everyone has their own specialties, especially doctors. Being first-rate in neurology does not mean being good in gynecology. But after all, he is a doctor, so he must know the basic knowledge. R. Wang Liner finally came to her senses, screamed, and quickly covered her face with the quilt. Because it was a cesarean section, she was almost naked. Although it happened once before, and even a child was born, it was just an accident. Now that they were in physical contact, Wang Liner felt like her whole body was on fire. And what was even more devastating was yet to come. Bai Yu's big hands were so gentle for some reason, and the air in her stomach began to be released after a while. And the sound is very loud. Dead. The society is dead. Wang Liner's body was trembling, and she felt like she was ripe. Don't be nervous, relax your body, otherwise it will hurt your wound. This is normal. Do you want to go to the bathroom? All of them were greetings. Wang Lina shook her head decisively, but when she thought about herself under the quilt, she could only answer softly, no, no. Although she woke up once last night and even talked with Bai Yu, Wang Lina was actually still a little confused at that time. It was just because of Bai Yu's arrival that she wanted to say something. Now that the effect of the medicine has completely worn off, the pain from her wounds has made her more awake, and her emotions are naturally more intense. Just a few simple greetings almost made Wang Lina collapse. Take a rest first, I'll get you something to eat. Giving birth is a physically demanding task, let alone a cesarean section. Hearing the footsteps fading away, Wang Lina finally lifted the quilt, revealing her little head. She stared at the ceiling in confusion, not knowing what she was thinking. After saying hello to the nurse, Bai Yu found a breakfast shop, paid some money, and borrowed their kitchen. Because it was a cesarean section, I could only eat some liquid food. Bai Yu prepared some porridge and brown sugar water for Wang Lina. When I returned to the ward, I saw Wang Lina feeding the baby with the young nurse helping her. Oh, you even remember to prepare brown sugar water for me. The young nurse probably had something against Bai Yu, and when she saw what he had prepared, her tone was a little unfriendly. After all, she had instructed last night that it would be best to ask an adult to come, but hasn't he shown up yet? Moreover, Bai Yu just gave instructions and left, leaving the woman in labor without anyone to take care of her. So pitiful. After all, this new mother is so beautiful and has such a good figure. Especially for someone who is so thin, her breasts are so big. I am so envious. With such an excellent daughter-in-law, how could the man's family be dissatisfied? But judging from Bai Yu's clothes and appearance, she comes from an ordinary family. Of course, she is quite good-looking. But the new mother is also very beautiful, they are a perfect match. Not to mention the birth of twins. I don't understand. Thanks. The young nurse talked for a while and asked some questions about Wang Lina's health. When she heard that Bai Yu had helped her to pass gas and discharge urine, she glanced at him with some surprise. Let the brown sugar water and porridge cool down first, Bai Yu looked at the time. Arrive. 9:15. Start bidding. He decisively took out his mobile phone and cleared the previous stocks. The other side is also keeping an eye on HT technology. Right from the beginning, HT started to slide all their way down and was pressed to the ground, with a big green number saying -10.1. The price dropped to the limit on the spot. Of course, the orders at this time can be cancelled. And until 9:20, the order cannot be cancelled. But even so, there is no change in HT technology and it is still in the limit down mode. Let's take a gamble. Although he also traded stocks in his previous life, it was basically just for fun. In this life, although he has the title of the world's #1 stock god and has accumulated a lot of experience, this is still his first time actually trading stocks. 800,000, all bought at the limit price. Position name, HT Technology XXX606. Number of shares held, 160,000 shares. Cost current price, 55. Holding value, 800,000 yuan. Profit for the day, 0. I hope this bottom fishing is correct. Hey, you bought the porridge and just left it there. Can't you feed it to your wife? The young nurse was probably about to leave. She turned around and saw Bai Yu playing with his cell phone, and reminded him with some dissatisfaction. Bai Yu quickly put away his phone and then picked up the small bowl. I'll do it myself. Seeing that Bai Yu prepared porridge and brown sugar water for her, she felt somewhat comforted. After all, women always like to be comforted and cared for by others. Especially since the relationship between the two was ambiguous, she didn't know how to tell Bai Yu many things. Only. After bringing the things back, Bai Yu actually took out his cell phone and kept fiddling with it, which made her a little worried. It seems he doesn't care about himself that much. Drink it. Bai Yu naturally did not let Wang Lina do it herself. She was unable to do it at this time, after all, the wound on her stomach was quite big. Therefore, he could only lie down and be fed. It seemed like I had returned to the scene of my wife having a cesarean section in my previous life. Counting the time, it was only a little over a year. During that time, he fed her and she opened her mouth. Blowing away the heat, Bai Yu extended the spoon in front of Wang Lina. She looked dazed for a moment. She thought he knew how to blow, a mechanical version of opening his mouth. The white porridge actually didn't have much taste, it was just a little vegetable juice added to it, making it rather light, but she still thought it was delicious. If you have something to do, go do it first. She noticed that Bai Yu had a serious expression when he was looking at his phone, and thought that maybe something happened, so she hesitated and spoke. Open your mouth, R. Bai Yu ignored her and continued to feed her white porridge. Chapter 6, Thank you for your hard work. Humph. It's quite strong. However, Wang Lina still opened her mouth obediently and drank the porridge, but she didn't dare to eat more. After all, she was lying in bed and couldn't do anything. She didn't want to have to defecate at that time. The pain in my stomach continued, but it was not as severe as when I woke up last night. It was not until now that she finally noticed that Bai Yu seemed different from before. It's a feeling and an impression. Even though they had only spoken a few words in school and had never met each other a few times, when she checked his identity later, she had actually simulated Bai Yu's speech and appearance in her mind. But unfortunately, everything she simulated was wrong. For a guy of the same age, he seems much more stable than expected. She didn't panic like the child she knew about, nor was she caught off guard, and she certainly didn't run away. He seems ready to take responsibility. Filling out forms, washing diapers for the children, and preparing breakfast for myself, all done in an orderly manner. The two little guys were pretty supportive and didn't make much noise. Moreover, in just one day, they actually showed some changes. The wrinkled skin on his body slowly healed and he finally looked a little cute. You know, she almost cried when she saw the two children for the first time last night. Those were not tears of excitement at seeing flesh and blood, but tears of shock at the ugliness. After all, she had never seen a newborn baby, and she thought that every one of them was so smooth, cute, and filled with sweet milk fragrance. But what were those two little guys? Their skin was dark and wrinkled, their eyes couldn't open, and there was some dirt on their bodies. They were basically monkeys. Did she even doubt that this little guy was really taken out of her body? Bai Yu, there is a bank card in my bag, you can use it recently. As if she had thought of something, Wang Lina pointed to the bag in the cabinet next to her. That small bag doesn't look cheap. Bai Yu did not refuse and took it. He unzipped it and found a lot of documents and small items inside, as well as several cards in the wallet. Wang Lina looked at Bai Yu deeply, then handed him a card. Seeing that he accepted it without saying much, she felt a little more proud of him. After all, she also knew that men were very concerned about their reputation, and she didn't know whether he could accept giving her a bank card like this. But she also knew that Bai Yu had just graduated and probably didn't have much money. Bai Yu should have paid a sum of money last night, and she has been going out to buy things from time to time these days. She was afraid that Bai Yu would not tell her if she had no money because of her man's face. Of course, it was somewhat comforting to see him take the bank card, but it also felt awkward. After all, there wasn't even a word. Maybe it was because she had a child, or maybe it was because the relationship was a little unclear. Bai Yu felt very complicated. He sat on the edge of the bed, head lowered, eyes fixed on the phone screen. Because of the reflection, she couldn't see clearly what Bai Yu was looking at. She felt a little annoyed. Don't you want to talk to me? Don't you even ask how I managed to hold on for the past 10 months? After all, the child is yours. Unfortunately, no greetings. She closed her eyes, feeling a lot of resentment in her heart. Is there going to be a wave of ground floor? After the limit down, it has been a straight line, but just before that, the limit down was opened and started to stretch directly. Brother Wanshou's sell orders were swept away one after another almost instantly. Here it comes, I told you there's something wrong with this stock. Bai Yu was a little excited, and the amount of orders was still increasing. In less than a minute, the number of orders reached tens of millions, with more than billions of funds waiting to enter the market. But now, who is ready to make a move? This crazy rise would drive even a fool crazy. A wave of bottom fishing, direct limit up. 20% profit. That is a profit of 160,000. Even if he was once worth hundreds of millions, he would still be secretly shocked. No wonder people often say that if you win, you can touch the club, and if you lose, you have to work in the fields. This kind of profit is only from an initial capital of 800,000. If it were 8 million, wouldn't that be a profit of 1.6 million? If it's 80 million, wouldn't that be 16 million in profit? If it's 800 million. Of course, that's just a thought. After all, the accounts in the stock market are not calculated in this way. One wave of daily limit, 160,000, HT's momentum is picking up. It will definitely not be just this one wave, there will be at least 3 waves of daily limit. The stock forum has gone crazy, with 60 to 70% of the content being filled with news about HT technology. What the hell is HT? RTNND, I just sold it. It's a floor-to-ceiling stock, a monster stock. I can even come across this. Brothers, I'm stupid. Whoever has it, I want it. Do you think the people above are stupid? Tinglong Capital has entered the market, HT is gaining momentum, and everyone knows that there will be a continuous surge in the future. Maybe there's a fool. Fuck it, I've lost a lot of money. I bought at a high point, and I sold out after 5 consecutive declines. This is what happened to me. They were all crying and shouting. It seemed that many people had sold their meat. He put away his phone and turned to look at Wenlina. Perhaps because of the heat, her face was a little red and her neck was sweaty. Taking a small basin and washing a small towel, Bai Yu began to wipe Wenlina's body. Wenlina didn't feel sleepy. After all, she had slept all night and was not that sleepy. I'm just physically tired, mentally tired, and the wound is aching from time to time. She didn't know what Bai Yu was thinking. Why did you come to take care of her? Is it simply because of the children? Is it the man's sense of responsibility? Maybe, but I'm a little disappointed. Especially at this time, he refused to even perform. Someone pulled her hand up. When Wenlina opened her eyes, she saw Bai Yu holding her hand and wiping it with a towel. He wiped it very carefully, from his forearm, the back of his hand, the palm, and even every finger. The towels were warm and comfortable. Wenlina just looked at Bai Yu, watching him wipe his hands, then wash the towel again and start wiping her neck. Itch. She shrank her neck, somewhat afraid to look at Bai Yu. After all, when Bai Yu was wiping, he pulled her collar with his hand, and she quickly pressed it with her arm. However, Bai Yu did not continue. After wiping her neck with the towel, he washed it again and began to wipe the area around her face. Just without saying a word. Wenlina suddenly felt that this was a good idea. After all, what was the point of talking so much? Just do it. The phone vibrated. Bai Yu looked down and suddenly spoke. Thank you for your hard work these days. This one sentence almost broke Wenlina's defense, and tears were almost in her eyes. Looking back, I find it unbelievable. Yes, how did I persevere? I have experienced falling down and not being able to get up, and even almost having a miscarriage. I have experienced too much mental stress and couldn't sleep all night. I have vomited continuously, couldn't eat, was distracted, and almost got hit by a car. But in the end, she persevered. It is difficult for outsiders to empathize with the pain she went through. Fortunately, she managed to hold it back. Wenlina was a little afraid to look at Bai Yu, for she was afraid that she would cry. The relationship between them was still too raw, and she didn't want to show weakness in front of him. Chapter 7, Bonds. The sky is blue. Maybe I was in a good mood, so everything I saw was interesting. Outside the window was a large flower bed, with familiar and unfamiliar flowers blooming. It also seems to welcome people coming and going. After all, it is a maternal and child healthcare hospital, so there are not many separations of life and death here, but mostly new babies being born. Therefore, everyone who appears in the yard has more or less joy on their face, and at most just some anxiety. The eldest one was silly, with his fists clenched tightly, not knowing what he was holding. The younger sister, on the other hand, was lying quietly, breathing evenly, with very long eyelashes. She should be a beautiful girl like her mother in the future. Bai Yu likes children. After all, he is at the age where he likes children. 35 years old. In addition, he already had a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. From the time they were born to the time they were 6 months old, he almost dropped all his work. After all, they were his own children, so in addition to love for them, he also felt a sense of responsibility and belonging. His sudden arrival in this world 10 months ago not only separated him from his wife and children, but also cut off his dreams. People without hope are like walking corpses. In this world, he has no sense of belonging and no ideological sustenance. Like a poor ghost wandering outside the world. All the joy, all the laughter, and even all the pain, have nothing to do with him. Although he is in this world, he is excluded from society. But at this moment, there are 2 cute little guys in this world who have formed a bond with him. Responsibility can really arise in an instant. It happened too suddenly, and I wasn't prepared for it. My mind was groggy last night and I didn't sleep all night. It's only now that I've come to my senses. Sorry. Bai Yu's sudden sincere apology stunned Wang Lina, and then she felt a little at a loss. Thinking back, yes, from the time I saw him last night until today, there was no expression on Bai Yu's face. A huge amount of information is overwhelming, and I feel confused, panicked, scared, happy, worried, etc. So many emotions suddenly appear, and it is understandable that I find it difficult to control myself for a while. To be honest, I'm actually a little angry. Why? Bai Yu had a stern face and a serious expression, as if he really blamed Wang Lina. 10 months, a full 10 months. Why didn't you call me earlier? Do you think I'm unworthy, or do you think I've been forgotten in your heart? What else would you not bother me if it wasn't for the signature? What do you think of me as? A tool. This matter must be brought to light, and if we want to get over it, we naturally have to talk about it. Men of Bai Yu's age will only release their eagles when they see a rabbit. Wang Lina really looked for the reasons herself, feeling a little self-blaming and guilty, and she didn't even dare to look Bai Yu in the eye. No, it's just that I was the one who decided to give birth to the child, and I don't want to implicate you. Having a child right after graduation, and having the child out of wedlock, is actually very difficult for anyone, regardless of whether the child is a boy or a girl, to accept. Especially since Bai Yu's family situation is not very good, he has no job and no source of income. Suddenly, there are 3 more mouths to feed, not to mention a baby. Most men cannot bear this responsibility. To put it bluntly, Wang Lina knew that Bai Yu did not have the ability to take care of a child. After all, young people of this age find it difficult to support themselves, let alone support a family. What do you mean by implicating me? Since he is my child, I am half responsible, and I will not shirk my responsibility. Responsibility? Does Bai Yu want to take responsibility? This made Wang Lina feel relieved. The child was born, but in fact, the difficulties had just begun. She had to think about how to make her family accept this fact. Having faced more than 200 days and nights alone, she was really too tired. As for money, she doesn't have to worry too much. She can afford to raise 2 children, but it would be much better to have someone to help. The fact that Wang Lina could endure 10 months of pregnancy alone was enough to prove that she was a person of strong character. But now facing Bai Yu, she didn't know how to handle their relationship for a moment, nor did she know how to deal with their identities, which made her look a little weak. The eldest brother had a poop and was venting his frustration by crying and shouting, kicking his legs hard. The little face wrinkled. Bai Yu was in a hurry. She changed his diaper and washed it again. Look at your sister, she's quiet and peaceful, but you're so capable. After a lot of trouble, more than half an hour had passed. The eldest child had stopped crying and his eyes were only a slit. Babies at this age cannot see people because their vision has not yet fully developed. They can only see a blurry shadow. In one day, the wrinkled skin became much smoother, especially the face shape, which can be seen to be in good shape. This is inevitable, after all, both the mother and the father are handsome and beautiful, with good genes. Wang Lina just watched Bai Yu take care of the child, but her expression did not seem relaxed at all. Bai Yu is only 23 years old. Can he take care of the children? Obviously not. Besides, if a 23-year-old young man really wants to spend his most important 2 years on a child, I'm afraid he will completely fall into the mortal world in the future. After I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll take the child away. With these words, Bai Yu turned his head suddenly, expressionless, but soon his expression changed, frowning with a hint of blame. Leave? Can one person take care of 3 children? Even if you hire a nanny, it won't work. Besides, you still have to stay in confinement after the baby is born, and you'll need someone to take care of you too. We'll talk about the future later, but for the next 3 months, you should let me take care of you. After all, I didn't take care of you during your pregnancy. As for a few months later, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. But there is one thing I need to make clear. You probably don't have any feelings for me, I know that, but the child is yours and mine. This is a fact that cannot be changed. This is an accident, but who can be sure that this is not a good accident? So I hope you can give me a chance, and we can try to get along. Also, I must admit that there is a huge gap between our 2 families. I guess you should have inquired about my family situation. As for your family situation, I don't know, but judging by these supplies, there is a huge difference between us. Bai Yu pointed to the bag in the cabinet. He had checked it before. It was just a small bag, but it cost hundreds of thousands, and it was from an unpopular brand. If it weren't for its fine workmanship and extraordinary texture, most people wouldn't know that this bag is a luxury item. Anyone who can spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy niche luxury goods must simply like them. But most families can't afford this kind of love. Of course, the most critical issue is temperament. Wang Liner's family is obviously not just rich. However, I'm not saying this because I'm afraid of your high threshold. Although I don't have everything I want right now, I will have everything I need soon. Is it a bit too serious? Bai Yu felt that his way of thinking might be too old-fashioned. The seriousness on his face faded away, and he smiled and said, "Of course, if you don't care about the so-called sectarianism and hope that I can stay at home and be a full-time dad who takes care of the children and lives off others, I will accept it with peace of mind." Wang Liner. Chapter 8 Emotional Expert. Wang Liner did not respond to what Bai Yu said. But she can still wait for 3 months. As for what Bai Yu said, everything she deserves will be hers. She didn't really have much hope. Her family conditions are pretty good, especially since she released a single in her sophomore year, so compared to others, she must find it easier to make money. But no matter how simple it seems, I don't think it's easy to make millions in a short period of time. It can even be said that it is impossible for 99% of people to make millions in a short period of time, not to mention that Bai Yu is still a young man, which makes it even more impossible for 99.99%. After all, she only got a little over $1 million in share from that song, and her subsequent original songs didn't make much of a splash. Wang Liner felt her stomach was a little bloated, and Bai Yu probably noticed it, so she came over to help her massage her lower abdomen. Although it had happened once before, I was still embarrassed. Fortunately, I just put my hand under the quilt. That big hand seemed to have magic, moving with all its strengths and speeds in an orderly manner. After a while, feeling that she could not hold it any longer, Wang Liner closed her eyes and even covered her head. She farted again, and she was so embarrassed that she really wanted to find a crack to crawl into. But why is his hand massage so comfortable? How could she know that Bai Yu had professional level massage and bone-setting skills? Because the stone in his heart fell to the ground, Bai Yu didn't look so serious anymore, so the two of them started to communicate more frequently. The young nurse came in and asked about the child's name. After all, it had to be written on the birth certificate and vaccination list. Just call it peace and safety. I hope they can be safe and sound. Wang Liner said this and looked at Bai Yu. She had actually thought about it long before. After all, she already knew they were twins. Now that Bai Yu has joined us, it is natural that we still have to symbolically seek his opinion. Become? Bai Yu had no objection, but he was a little stunned when he heard the name. After all, this was the name of his child in his previous life. Maybe it really is compensation. The name touched his heart, but Bai Yu quickly adjusted his mood and suppressed the throbbing at this moment deep in his heart. People still have to move forward after all. Here, there are 2 more cute little ones waiting to be fed. You can start going out today. This will help with your recovery. When the young nurse left, she gave Bai Yu a reminder. It takes about a week to recover from a cesarean section, and then you have to be discharged from the hospital, so you can usually get out of bed the next day. Wang Liner had long been impatient of lying there, but the pain in her stomach still came and went. Without a doctor, she didn't dare to do anything rash. Bai Yu quickly helped her up, carefully, thinking in his heart whether he could learn more gynecologist skills in the next few days. The cut on the stomach was so exhausting that Wang Liner's hands and feet felt weak. Especially when she moved, the wound on her stomach was pulled, making her gasp. Slow down, lean on me. Bai Yu quickly grabbed Wang Liner, let her lean half of her body, put his arm around her waist, and walked out of the ward step by step. TSK, you can walk now. You're in good health. You need to move around more after giving birth. This will help your body recover. The mother-in-law of the woman in labor next to her came again. Seeing Bai Yu and Wang Liner, she smiled and said, "What a perfect match." It is not uncommon to see handsome men and beautiful women, but there are fewer of them in the ward, especially girls. Pregnant women cannot wear makeup, not to mention those who have just given birth and do not look good. But even so, they can still be seen as beautiful, which is enough to show how strong Wang Liner's natural capital is. Bai Yu is also handsome, tall and with a broad back. Although he is a little young, he gives people a sense of security for some reason. It was my first time getting out of bed, and I can walk too much. After all, the wound on my stomach was still too painful and needed to heal properly. But this time, after getting out of bed, Wang Liner still went to the bathroom. She really couldn't stand the shame in front of Bai Yu. But just one time when she went to the bathroom, she was sweating profusely from the pain and almost couldn't get up. "Are you okay?" Bai Yu quickly helped the person out. Seeing that her hair was stuck to her cheeks, she quickly helped her onto the bed, fetched some water and washed a towel, and began to wipe Wang Liner's body. "I'll do it myself." "Okay, I'll do it." Bai Yu was very domineering and washed the towels again and again. This kid was so silly before, but I didn't expect him to be so careful now. "What? Did you guys make up?" The aunt came over to chat with Wang Liner and said, "Now that you have a child, you should live a good life. But why don't we meet your parents?" Wang Liner smiled awkwardly. Okay, I'm talking too much." The aunt quickly changed the subject. Seeing Bai Yu coming back with a towel to help Wang Liner wipe her hands, she smiled and said, "This kind of relationship is cultivated slowly. If you want it to last, both sides need to work hard. The so-called love is just a temporary burst of emotion. It can't last long." Wang Liner was amused and said with a smile, "Auntie, you still have this insight." "That's not true. I was young once too. I was also impulsive and desperate for love, but later I found that married life is completely different from dating. When you are in love, you feel happy when the other person cooks a meal for you, and you feel love when the other person pours you a glass of water. But in fact, anyone can do these so-called cooking, pouring water, and even peeling apples. But these things don't play any role in marriage, and they may even have a counterproductive effect." "Oh, how could that be counterproductive?" Wang Lina obviously didn't quite understand. The old lady was a chatterbox, and when she saw Wang Lina start asking questions, she suddenly turned into an emotional expert. Cooking and pouring water are just small spice of life, but what a marriage really needs is the honesty and trust between both parties, and most importantly, the sense of responsibility. Just like between husband and wife, as a man, you have to stand up and take responsibility when something happens. To put it bluntly, in a marriage, you cannot pour water, not cook, but you must not be without the courage to take responsibility. My daughter has never figured it out. She always attaches great importance to the first greeting in the morning, the first cup of milk tea in late autumn, and the first sip of red sugar water during her period. She thinks that only a good man can be entrusted with his life if he can pay attention to these details. It's a pity that she dated several men in a row, but all of them ended in failure. Besides, she met several scumbags. No one wanted to marry her, and those who wanted to get married were too tired. She is still single now. Your husband is pretty good. He's been running around for a long time and has no intention of backing down at all." Bai Yu smiled and said, "Auntie, please stop talking like that. If you keep talking like that, she will think you are someone I hired to say good things about me. But you are right. I don't have many advantages, but I am not afraid of anything. I will definitely dare to do what I want for my woman, and I will definitely dare to give birth to and raise my child." Wang Lina. The aunt laughed and said, "I'm telling you, don't have conflicts with your family. Even if there are conflicts, don't fight them. How many parents in the world don't like their own children? You have already made a fait accompli, how can they really break you up?" The aunt had a very sharp eye and saw through it at a glance. She probably guessed that the two were secretly dating and having a child and didn't dare to tell their family, otherwise why didn't they see the parents accompanying the child in bed for so long? Wang Lina smiled bitterly. Chapter 9, Trying to Buy a House. Fortunately, this body is still young. At this time in my previous life, I couldn't hold on after not sleeping for a day and a night. But now, I have a good body. Although I feel a little sleepy, I can hold on well. But there are still 5 or 6 days left, and I can't completely go without sleep like this. Fortunately, the hospital has money to solve the problem. I just took a short nap and felt refreshed, but my eyes were still a little red. But when he opened his eyes and saw Wang Lina holding the cell phone, Bai Yu's face suddenly became stern. "You just gave birth to a baby, how can you play with your phone?" Bai Yu snatched Wang Lina's cell phone away. "Hey, I'm not playing with my phone, I'm explaining something." Wang Lina was anxious and quickly explained, "The baby is already born. I'm going to contact my friends and ask them to lend a hand when the time comes." Bai Yu frowned and thought about it. "Then hurry up." After taking the phone, Wang Lina didn't dare to look at Bai Yu. She was indeed in contact with her friends. After all, she had completely cut off contact with them 8 months ago. Of course, there were only 1 or 2 people who still contacted her from time to time. After all, you have to report that you are safe, otherwise, if a living person goes missing, you might have to call the police to find him. She wasn't ready to face her family yet. "Oh my goodness, you finally contacted me." On the phone screen, there was a message from someone called Fox. Of course, before this message, Wang Liner sent a message to the other party, just 1 minute ago. "I am here." Before that, there was a series of greetings. Judging from those greetings, the person who sent the message must be very anxious. And Wang Liner's response was just 5 days ago. "Fox, auntie, what are you doing? If you don't send me a message, I will call the police." "Fox, I can hardly hide the truth from your mother." Messages come one after another. Wang Liner felt a little guilty. The two of them were sisters who grew up together, but the other went abroad for college. However, they met for a long time every year. Moreover, Fox returned to China after graduation and is now in Huating. Wang Liner deceived everyone, even the Fox, by using the excuse of going out to travel and look for inspiration. However, she had been in contact with Fox until she went to the hospital a few days ago. During these days, Fox sent her countless messages, all of which were full of worry. "Nana, I'm fine. I can be fine. I suddenly got inspiration a few days ago and it burst out all of a sudden. I feel really good this time. Fox, auntie, how long have you been holding it in? Come back soon and stop looking for inspiration. Also, don't disappear again, or I'll call my aunt." Wang Liner's heart trembled, and she quickly typed a reply. "Nana, don't worry, I'll be back in a few days, we'll talk when we meet." "Fox, no, don't tell me anything. You must give me news every day." "Nana, no problem." "Fox, show me the new song first." After they chatted for a while, Wang Liner finally comforted the Fox and breathed a sigh of relief. Only. She was afraid that she could no longer hide this, so she prepared to confront the Fox. After all, she could not handle the family by herself. Of course, the most important thing is, she is running out of money. She basically used the money from the song in her sophomore year to buy gifts for her family. Now she has nothing left. Besides, she is too embarrassed to ask her family for more money now that she has graduated. Not to mention that she won't be able to go to work from now on, let alone release new songs. Having a child must be very stressful, so how can I concentrate on writing new songs? Oh, yes, the Fox also wants to see her new song. Wang Liner smiled bitterly. She didn't have any new songs. All she had were some scraps. Well, it's time. While he was thinking about it, Bai Yu took away his cell phone and put it in the cabinet. Wang Liner was helpless. People nowadays really can't live without their mobile phones. She used her mobile phone not just for playing, but also for storing a lot of manuscripts. "I can't use my cell phone, but can I use a pen and paper?" Wang Liner also knew that it was for her own good, and she would definitely not be willful and ask for the phone, but she had to deal with the Fox. Although there would be a showdown later, she would just have to deal with it for the next few days. "That's fine. Do you want to write something?" Bai Yu actually has the habit of carrying paper and pen with him, which was a habit he developed in his previous life. Bai Yu went out to find paper and pen, and sat aside to read the stock market news. A profit of hundreds of thousands a day is close to 1 million, but it seems a bit difficult to have tens of millions in a short period of time. "I will be discharged from the hospital in 6 days, and I don't know where Wang Liner lives now. If it is a single apartment, then it will be troublesome. I will definitely have to find a new house." Of course, after being discharged from the hospital, they must have at least a 3-bedroom apartment, one for Wang Liner, one for Bai Yu, and one room for aunt. After all, 2 people cannot take care of 2 little ones, so they must have help. Considering the need to make money in the future, a 4-bedroom apartment is best because a study room will be needed. But finding a 4-bedroom apartment in Huating would definitely cost a lot of money, and according to Bai Yu, the community environment and security measures must be good. Well, why not just rent a large flat? Bai Yu opened the house rental app to check. If you want to rent the entire house, a 4-bedroom apartment in a good location would cost around 8,000 yuan. That is about 100,000 yuan a year. But this is just an ordinary community. If it were a high-end community, the price would double. You can't save this money. Rent for a year or half a year first. After half a year, you should be able to buy a big house directly. Making money is not difficult at all for Bai Yu, but he needs time now. Lena, where do you live? Bai Yu turned around and asked. Wang Lena was scribbling on paper and pen. She looked up when she heard the words, her eyes full of confusion. She didn't know why Bai Yu asked her where she lived. But after thinking about it, I said it anyway. Clearwater Bay. Clearwater Bay? Bai Yu checked and found that it was near the Bund and the price was not expensive, but it was just an apartment building and not suitable for raising children. Just pass. Although I don't know why Bai Yu asked where she lived, Wang Lena still wanted to tell Bai Yu, before I got pregnant, I lived with a friend named Fox. We grew up together. Although we are not biological sisters, we are closer than biological sisters. After I'm discharged from the hospital, I should tell her everything. I will return to Ipin to live then. First grade. Bai Yu checked and found that this was a well-known luxury residential area in Huating, with an average price of over 200,000 yuan. Is the house big? Not small, for rooms. White jade. For rooms. He certainly would not leave Wang Lena and the children, but it would definitely not be appropriate for him to live with Wang Lena and her friends. In this case, it would be better to just rent a house in Ipin, where Wang Lena, the child, and he can live together, and the friend will also be close by. TSK, 397 square meters, rent of 50,000 a month. Bai Yu checked on the APP, doesn't that mean he would have to pay 600,000 or 700,000 yuan for renting a house? But it is acceptable. After all, he has children and he doesn't want to live in a community with no security. It's expensive for a reason. HT has already hit the daily limit, and there should be several more daily limits. Even if there are 3, the daily profit is only a few 100,000. No, the principal is too small, and the money is still too slow. It seems that I have to go to the securities exchange to raise funds. After all, with 1 million in capital, one daily limit is only 100,000, but what about 10 million, that would be 1 million a day. I tried my best to buy a house as soon as possible. Bai Yu took a deep breath and turned around to see Wang Lena with a frown on her face and humming an unknown tune. And the paper was covered with messy musical notation. This is Manuscript. Chapter 10, Collaboration. I almost forgot that Wang Lena is a singer who writes and sings her own songs. Although he has never released an album, he did have a song which became a minor hit. It was a short-lived success, but it was also a display of his strength. I have written several pages, but there is not a complete song, and there are all kinds of genres. The music styles are varied and it is obvious that Wang Lena has not yet found her correct positioning. This is normal. Not to mention composers, even lyricists and singers often cannot find their own position. This is also the reason why many people are talented but cannot become popular. Bai Yu was half an entertainment industry figure in his previous life. Although his composing ability is not strong, he still has some arranging skills. And he has the culture of a whole world in his mind, and he can inherit other people's skills infinitely in this life. It's easy for him to play a piece of music, or make a song popular, or even make someone famous. Wang Lena was obviously in a dilemma. The tune she hummed was unpredictable, but it didn't form a song at all. However, Bai Yu did read a few passages and immediately remembered a classic from his previous life. Composing music is definitely becoming more and more difficult. After all, there are only a few notes, so sometimes I always feel that one song is a bit similar to another. And there are countless similar sections. Well, this section is like Persian cat, this section is like red bean, and this section is like. Bai Yu took a quick glance at it. Perhaps there were too many memories in his mind, so when he saw a small section of the music, he thought of many similar complete songs. Perhaps she noticed that Bai Yu had been staring at her manuscript, and Wang Lena was stunned. Yes. Bai Yu is her schoolmate and a top student at Huating Drama Academy. She remembered that Bai Yu was studying drama literature. What do you think? This is just a superfluous remark. Bai Yu studied drama literature, and he definitely doesn't know as much about composition as a professional like her. I just thought that it would be nice if she composes the music and Bai Yu writes the lyrics for a song together. Good. Good? Is this evaluation a bit perfunctory? Wang Lena was a little unhappy. You can snatch my phone, but you can't doubt my professionalism. No, look. Wang Lena found a piece of white paper, quickly wrote half a poem, and handed it to Bai Yu. This song is the most completed one, but she is not very satisfied with it. The more she changes it, the more messy it becomes. But these are her treasures. Who knows, one day she might suddenly have an inspiration and complete it. Bai Yu took the manuscript, hummed along with the score, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. This song. So familiar. No, this is not right. Bai Yu decisively took the pen from Wang Liner's hand and changed the notes very quickly. Why? Seeing that Bai Yu was scratching directly on her own music score, Wang Liner became anxious, but her wound was suddenly affected. She grinned and dared not move, with a little annoyance on her face. Rude. Changing other people's works at random. But she found that Bai Yu didn't even raise his head, and just made some strokes with the pen from time to time. After a while, he handed the paper to her. Try it. Wang Liner felt a little uncomfortable, but did not show it. She looked at the music score again and began to hum softly. La la swoosh la swoosh, la swoosh la. As she hummed, the strange look in Wang Liner's eyes became more and more intense. Composing music is like writing an article. At the very least, you have to be fluent and inject your own emotions into it to make it pleasant to the ears. Oftentimes, a change in one note can drastically change the flavor of a section, just like Chinese poetry. Is this your own song? It seems so, but it also seems not so. About 1/3 of it was changed, but it was a complete change. It got to the point where she couldn't even recognize that it was a revision based on her own manuscript. How is this possible? How is this possible? Wang Liner hummed the song once, her heart filled with turmoil. She raised her head abruptly, and stared straight at Bai Yu with her already big and shining eyes. You made a great change. She wanted to ask, did you change this? But when I think about it, isn't this nonsense? Someone changed the score in front of her, not to mention that the manuscript was provided by her. Only. This is unexpected. The level of this song is. She was sure that she couldn't write it, she must be a master. Hey, that's not right. Isn't Bai Yu a drama literature major? How come he is so good at composing music? Why didn't he change his major? It's okay. Bai Yu remained calm and still had that gentle smile on her face. After all, she was a little girl and women naturally admired strong men, and even Wang Lina, who had a good upbringing, was no exception. Now that he has a child, Bai Yu has also set his own next tasks. To build a good relationship with Wang Lina, the best option is to get married. Since you are going to get married, you must cultivate your relationship well. In that case, let's start by making her admire you. Hiss. So calm? Wang Lina didn't know why she was suddenly inexplicably excited. Maybe it was because they suddenly had a common topic. Or maybe you suddenly met an industry genius. I took piano as an elective. Bai Yu thought it would be better to find an excuse, but it was not just an excuse, because the original body did take the piano as an elective. No wonder, just. It's still amazing. With such composing ability, why didn't you show it when you were in school? After all, university is a vibrant place where everyone is trying their best to show themselves. Those who want to participate in activities will participate in the activities, and those who want to participate in competitions will participate in the competitions. If Bai Yu had played this piece of music when he was in school, at least a few teachers in the music department would have liked it very much. What a shame, there's only music but no lyrics. Wang Liner likes this song very much. At least, she couldn't write it in the past few years. However, it is more about the new understanding of white jade. Maybe what we checked before was only part of it. With such great talent, it doesn't seem like it would be boring even if we really lived together, right? How did you think of this? Wang Liner secretly blamed herself for overthinking, and stared at the music, trying to find inspiration to see if she could write lyrics. But I couldn't find any clues for a while. But then I heard Bai Yu speak again. Lyrics, although I changed the score a little, the manuscript is yours. In that case, let's work together. How about I write the lyrics? Are you coming? Alas, no. This is not just a slight change, this is. Wang Liner was anxious. Hey. Bai Yu interrupted Wang Liner and said with a smile, we still need to split it up. How about we each take one child away? In one sentence, Wang Liner was completely choked to death. Then, Bai Yu's eyes were gentle as he took her hand and said, it was mid-May in the middle of summer. 10 months ago, it was July last year. You said you had a pregnancy checkup in 2 months. It was already mid-September at that time, and it was almost autumn. I wonder what your mood was like when you looked up at the moon. Did you think of me? When you thought of me, how did you feel about me? Did you ever toss and turn in bed and curse the unfaithful man? So, late last night, I kept thinking about how a girl could go through the misery of pregnancy alone for 10 months, and how she could face loneliness every late night. I can't imagine it, I can't understand it. Wang Liner was stunned by Bai Yu's sudden attack and didn't know why he was so affectionate all of a sudden. But then, she saw Bai Yu let go of his hand and picked up the paper and pen. Flamboyant. As their words appeared on the paper, Wang Liner's expression began to freeze, then became horrified, and then exploded. Chapter 11, Full Moon in the West Tower. We mourn Mr. Xu Shilong. World-renowned martial artist, 5-time champion of free fighting, founder of Boruto Club, Mr. Xu Shilong passed away last night at the Imperial Capital Union Hospital at the age of 102. Here we go again. Bai Yu was surprised that this time it turned out to be a 102-year-old old man. And the title of the non-level free fighting champion for 5 consecutive times is a heavy honor. You have inherited Mr. Xu Shilong's fighting skills. In an instant, it was as if an electric current flowed from head to toe, and a large number of fighting skills were integrated. Bai Yu had the urge to shout to the sky, I'm going to beat 10 people. But my physical fitness is a bit poor. I wonder if I can inherit someone's physical skills. Fighting requires very high physical fitness, and Bai Yu has only inherited the fighting skills. However, there are many skills that he cannot perform with his physique. The body is the capital of revolution. I have to exercise well in the future. After 10 months of being in a daze, although I am young, my body has been ruined badly. Fortunately, I am not too old and can make up for it. Outside the window, cars are passing by and people are coming and going. Especially the young and handsome guys and the girls exuding youthfulness are particularly eye-catching. After all, it is a world-famous fashion metropolis, where everyone wears trendy and novel clothes, showing their charm and personality. It was the first time in 10 months that he was in the mood to pay attention to the smiling faces of the people in this city. And underneath that smile, his sense of loneliness was finally not as strong as before. People can't live in the past. It's simple to comfort myself, but it's not so easy to get out of the memories. Handsome guy, here we are. The taxi driver was a lady in her 40s who looked well maintained. The car stopped and gave Bai Yu a reminder. Thanks. After getting off the car, Bai Yu walked straight into the Bund branch of a securities company. The fragrance of red lotus root lingers in the jade mat in autumn. Wang Liner just lay on the hospital bed, her expression sometimes dazed, sometimes in trance, her mind so empty that she couldn't even feel the dull pain in her stomach. What a wonderful sentence this is. The fragrance of red lotus fades away and the jade mat is cold in autumn. It instantly leads people into a beautiful dream scene. It's still cool, but not yet autumn. Absolutely wonderful. She took a deep breath, feeling completely overwhelmed by just this one sentence. What kind of grace could one have to write such wonderful words? White jade. It's him. She watched Bai Yu writing with her own eyes, writing freely and comfortably, feeling contented. Take off your silk robe and board the boat alone. TSK. A simple word, light, describes a quiet and gentle lady from a noble family. Bai Yu said that he had fantasized about her mentality. So, in his heart, is she a gentle and quiet classical woman? Who would believe that these words were written by a man? As for the subsequent description, it actually doesn't quite match her mood. Who sent the letter from the clouds? The moon is full in the west building. One kind of lovesickness, 2 kinds of idle worries. The worry has just left my brow, but it's still on my mind. Hiss. It hits the heart so fiercely that it is hard to control one's emotions. Flowers fall and water flows. What a beautiful sentence. Who wrote it? My child's father. Wang Liner suddenly covered her face, feeling that she was a little shameless. But it was indeed written by my child's father. Over and over again, she didn't know how many times she had read it. Good words, good characters. Their hard pen calligraphy is so vigorous and graceful that one cannot help but admire it. She really couldn't believe that Bai Yu was so talented in composing music, and his literary attainments were even higher. As for this character, she was afraid that she would not be able to catch up even if she wrote for another 10 years. He's handsome and talented, why isn't he on the list of the most popular people in school? So I won the prize. Twins, plus a handsome and talented husband. Wang Lina quickly shook her head. She couldn't let herself be in love. She couldn't let herself be in love. He stared at the paper for a long time with a dazed look, and then looked at the ward door cautiously. Bai Yu said that he had something to do outside and he probably won't be back so soon. Well, it should be fine to use the phone once. Nana, I have a song out, and I asked someone to help write the lyrics, take a look at it. See how? This is very artistic. After all, the answer I want is not just a few comments. But perhaps when Lena herself is not aware of this mentality. Are you Mr. Yu? Li Qian brought a glass of water and placed it in front of Bai Yu politely, but still couldn't help but ask a question in confusion. She is Mr. Yu's account manager, and Mr. Yu's account is quite famous in their sales department. Of course, this is not because the account value is too high, after all, it is only 1 million. Their securities companies have hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of millions of clients. Only. The transaction information of this account is the most important. In 1 month, the capital increased from 20,000 to 800,000. What is the concept? It has increased 40 times. If the initial capital was 200,000, wouldn't it be nearly 10 million now? If the initial capital was 2 million, wouldn't it be nearly 100 million now? It's so terrifying. The most important thing is, during this month, none of the stocks purchased by Mr. Yu's account suffered losses. He only played short term and the stocks never lasted more than a week. And it hit several daily limit ups. How is this done? Is there any information from some channel, or is he really the god of short-term trading? 10 days later she called the other party. After all, there was a lot of money in the account, so she could upgrade. At that time, I was planning to ask around, but unfortunately the person who answered the phone said almost nothing and just hung up. For such a powerful retail investor, one would definitely guess the other party's age, but I didn't expect him to be so young, and so handsome. Especially the few words he said after coming in, his aura was so strong that she could hardly resist. It's me. I called before I came. What's going on? Li Qian was stunned. She didn't expect Bai Yu to be so straightforward and didn't give her any chance to get close to him. She rubbed her hands and said, Mr. Yu, it stands to reason that financing requires. Li Qian was about to explain the financing qualifications to Bai Yu, but was interrupted by Bai Yu's wave of his hand. I understand everything you said. I just want to know if your sales department can do it for me. If not, I will change brokers. Li Qian's expression changed. Bai Yu's account was opened not long ago. Although the transaction data is terrible and there is less than 1 million in funds. This does not meet the qualifications for opening. But she didn't expect Bai Yu to be so straightforward and leave no room for negotiation. Mr. Yu, how much amount do you want? 10 times. 10 times. Li Qian was shocked. You know, if you use leverage in stock trading, that would be the crematorium when you die. Bai Yu's data this month is so good, and it's short term, which shows that it is not luck. If you work hard, it should not be difficult to earn millions or even tens of millions a year. But 10 times leverage. If you are not careful, your family will be destroyed. Mr. Yu, 10 times is too much. Your term is too short. The time limit is short, but my ability is strong enough. The cold numbers are lying on the computer. I believe you have seen it. In one word, can it be done? As he spoke, Bai Yu subconsciously raised his hand, but he forgot that this body did not have a watch. But he didn't care, and said calmly, my time is precious. Are you leaving? Li Qian quickly stood up and said sternly, please wait a moment. With your operation skills, I believe there will be an opening. Having said that, he hurried out. Chapter 12 10 times leverage. The Bund Financial Center. Schurenfar Law Firm. A short-haired man wearing gold glasses is facing a computer. Behind him is a huge floor-to-ceiling window. Outside the window stand tall buildings. At a glance, one can see the signs of several world-famous companies. After all, it is one of the 3 major financial centers in Huating. I don't know how many world-renowned companies have branches or even headquarters here. My impression is that most people who can work here are neatly dressed white-collar workers. Just like this short-haired woman, she has a beautiful face, especially her eyes, which are long and narrow and charming, and with her exquisite makeup, she gives people a feeling of being out of reach. But this unattainable woman is currently struggling with a small game. Fuck. Is there something wrong with this author's brain? Or is he a psychopath? Why did he make the levels so difficult? After another failed jump, the fox was so angry that he wanted to smash the keyboard. But people are like this, the more they are abused, the more excited they become, especially Fox, who is a person who refuses to admit defeat. She has almost finished this game, but has only completed half of it. Must pass the level. Cheer yourself up and start over. But then, there was a knock on the door. The fox pressed pause, and the annoyance on his face instantly disappeared, turning serious and sharp. Come in. The door opened, and the assistant came in with documents, saying politely, Sister Fox, Mr. Shu has already gotten the job done, and he wants to ask when you can come and talk. Fox said calmly, Tell him to wait for notification. Yes. The young assistant responded quickly, and then told him about the recent arrangements and matters related to Mr. Shu's lawsuit before leaving. The fox held a pen and tapped the table rhythmically, lying on the chair. After a while, information came up on the computer. She clicked it and immediately sat up straight. Nana, I have a song out, and I asked someone to help write the lyrics. What do you think of it? More information will follow. The fragrance of red lotus root lingers in the jade mat in autumn. The fox's eyes widened instantly. She is a few years older than Wang Lina. Although she works as a lawyer, she has a good understanding of literature. You can tell the brilliance of this word at first glance, not to mention that it is originally spoken in a female tone. One kind of longing, two kinds of idle worries, there is no way to eliminate this feeling, it has just left my brow, but it has come to my heart. My goodness, what kind of divine lyrics are these? The fox was very excited, and felt that the language he had learned was not enough to describe it. What was the author's mentality when he wrote the lyrics? I'm afraid his emotions for the person in the text have already overflowed into the surface. Fox, the lyrics of your new song. Don't you think it's a bit too much? Does your song match the lyrics? Mr. Yu, we have already opened it for you, but as your account manager, I still want to remind you that I hope you can be more cautious. If there is a loss of more than 5%, we will directly close the account position. Li Qian's expression was very solemn. After all, she was a practitioner and she had seen many examples of families being ruined and people being killed due to playing with leverage. Bai Yu is so young, maybe she is not married yet. If it weren't for her professional ethics, she would really like to persuade Bai Yu not to play such a risky game. Bai Yu, on the other hand, looked indifferent. A 5% increase or decrease is not actually that large, but since you are playing with leverage, brokerage firms must set up safety valves for them. Once this valve breaks, the brokerage firm will act decisively. No mercy at all, this is the cruelty of financial leverage. Moreover, once forced liquidation occurs, there will be absolutely nothing left. As for the losses, of course, they will all be counted on your head. I see. Okay, then I wish you a successful start. The pros and cons have been thoroughly explained, and the contract has been signed, so there is nothing more to say. As a securities firm employee, she naturally hopes that the clients she serves can soar to the sky. After all, this is a proof of her qualifications, and whether she can climb up in the future depends on the care of these high-end clients. After leaving the sales department, Bai Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Now he has about 1 million yuan, and with a 10-fold leverage, that means he has 10 million yuan in capital. Compared to their hundreds of millions of dollars worth in the previous life, 10 million is nothing. But 10 times leverage. This is the first time I've played this way in 2 lifetimes. Moreover, this was his entire fortune, and a 5% loss would force him to close it. TSK, this is indeed a market that eats people without leaving any bones. HT is already doing very well, and big investors are eager to invest, so it is still unclear whether this nearly 10 million will be able to enter the market. If HT is too crazy, Bai Yu is ready to look for another stock. After all, he is not only optimistic about HT technology, but he has already fully capitalized on this stock, and there should be a wave of 2 or even 3 consecutive gains in the future. If I don't get this wave of dividends, I will always feel like I'm losing out. After buying a breast pump and some daily necessities, Bai Yu returned to the hospital. However, as soon as she arrived at the ward, her face fell. Disobedient. He strode over and snatched Wang Lina's cell phone. When she entered the ward, she saw Wang Lina playing with her cell phone with her head down. Although you don't have to be afraid of electronic products after having a child. Wang Liner is currently in a weak period, so answering a phone call is no big deal, but if it lasts for a long time, it will definitely have an impact. R. Wang Liner was about to get angry when her cell phone was snatched away, but when she saw Bai Yu's face, her temper suddenly weakened. He pulled the quilt up with both hands, covered his mouth, and looked innocent. I said weakly, I was wrong. How could she have expected that Bai Yu would suddenly come back? In fact, she should have realized that she had forgotten the time just because she was chatting with the fox. And the fox actually said that her music was not worthy of the lyrics. Can you bear it? Okay, I can bear it. After all, she was very clear about her own composing ability. For this song, not to mention her, even the gold medal composers in the circle would not dare to start easily. But she is a person with music. Although Bai Yu made changes to the song, as Bai Yu said, at least the changes were based on his own manuscript. Although it has been modified so much that it doesn't look like it was done by me, but the framework was built by me after all. And that song goes very well with The Moon Full in the West Tower. She could predict that if this song was really released, it would definitely become a hit and even a classic. The woman who knows how to show weakness is the smartest, just like Wang Liner now. Bai Yu is indeed a little angry. If Wang Liner continues to insist, Bai Yu will probably be even angrier. But she said, I was wrong in a weak and fragile tone. Bai Yu's anger suddenly dissipated, and he could only pretend to be angry and said, do you know you are wrong? Confiscate it. I'm still chatting with my friend. Let's say hello to her last minute, otherwise she will definitely be worried and suspicious. Bai Yu knew the current situation of the two, so he did not refuse this request. Moreover, the mobile phone in his hand was vibrating from time to time, and it was obvious that messages were constantly being sent to him. Bai Yu almost laughed out loud when he saw Wang Liner replying to her friend and then reluctantly handing over her phone. But in order to prevent her from secretly playing with her phone in the future, he still said with a straight face, if you want to play with your phone in the future, you must get my permission. No. Wang Liner is about to cry. Chapter 13 I'm afraid you'll seduce me. Ping ping, Anan. The child's birth certificate has been processed. The young nurse looked at the name Bai Yu had filled in, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. I didn't expect that you are not a good person, but your handwriting is pretty good. White Jade. Not a good person. What have I done to you that makes you think I'm not a good person? However, he also knew that it was because Wang Liner had always come to the hospital alone in the early stages, and even called him to give birth, but he hung up directly. She thought he was a scumbag who ran away after being shot. The little guy is soft and his skin has become smooth, but his eyes are not open yet. This is normal, after all, babies usually start to open their eyes after a week. Perhaps she realized something was wrong, because when her arm was lifted up, Anand's little face wrinkled. As the needle pierced into her arm, she immediately burst into tears. After their vaccination, Bai Yu applied talcum powder to the children and coaxed the two little ones to sleep, only then she realized that she was sweating all over. These two little ancestors are so hard to serve. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Bai Yu pulled the collar and fanned himself. Because there was a child and a woman who had just given birth, the temperature was quite high even in the middle of summer. I didn't expect you to have such a way with children. Wang Liner leaned against the wall. Although her face was still a little pale, it was much better than before. As long as she moves slowly and does not disturb the wound, she can now go out for a walk on her own. I have more than just a way with children. Bai Yu turned around and stared at Wang Liner with a smile. Wang Liner was stunned, her face turned red, and she quickly turned her head away. It may only take a moment to break the ice in a relationship. After all, the two of them have completed such a big private project. Even if they are still a little shy because the time is too short, they are not as unfamiliar as at the beginning. Hey, you are so talented in writing, why didn't I hear about you when I was in school? She knew most of the celebrities in the school, such as Yang Shui from the performance department. Although she was only a junior, she was already a quasi-second-tier actress. Another example is Cheng Dao from the directing department, who is considered an alumnus of the same grade. When he was a sophomore, he shot the short film New Year's Eve Dinner with several alumni, and won the 7th Short Video Gold Award of Coup Video. He also shot several short films for the school. Even when he was a senior, he followed the famous domestic director Feng Yuning as an assistant. As well as all kinds Bai Yu is so talented and has strong composing skills, and she doesn't even dare to comment on her lyrics, but she is still unknown. This doesn't make sense. Do you have to let others know if you have talent? Bai Yu touched Xiao Ainan's little Geo, which was so soft. He thought that he must leave a footprint when he got out. One per year. While answering, isn't it great to have accumulated a lot of experience like me? I just graduated for a year and I already have a wife and a child. Wang Lina. She rolled her eyes at Bai Yu and really had nothing to say. If Bai Yu was famous in college, I'm afraid they would not have the opportunity to have such a conversation. Great accumulation leads to great success. Bai Yu is so young, yet he can endure loneliness, tolerate noise, and achieve great success through accumulation. How can such a person be ordinary in the future? Maybe. Met the treasure boy? Besides, we are all alumni, so I have to give some respect to the Department of Music and the Department of Literature. If a student of drama and literature like me becomes a celebrity in the Department of Music, wouldn't that make them feel ashamed? Wang Lina. Well, I just praised Bai Yu for being modest in my heart, and then this came out. Are you suppressing others so much that they can't even raise their heads? Although the song is very good, it is an exaggeration to say that it overwhelms the music department. But that poem should be able to overwhelm everyone in the literature department. So amazing. I remember there were 2 boys and 3 beauties in the Department of Literature at that time. 2 talented men and 3 beauties. She had read Liu Nanfeng's masterpiece and thought it was very good, with brilliant literary talent and colorful words, and had the flavor of his father Ji Yu Ding. But now compared with Bai Yu, they are simply heaven and earth apart. However, there is no best in literature, and this is also her own opinion. Moreover, he read Liu Nanfeng's short stories, while Bai Yu read ancient poems. Bai Yu, you are so talented in writing, have you ever considered developing this field? For example, writing novels. Since this is the case, she naturally hopes that Bai Yu will achieve higher results. If Bai Yu really becomes a great writer, then even if this matter is exposed, her family will probably just scold her instead of stopping her from getting married. I've been thinking about getting married. Wang Lina was a little shy, but then she thought, this was a big deal after all, and she was not a little girl anymore, so it was time for her to consider her marriage. Writing a novel. Bai Yu was surprised and met Wang Lina's big eyes. When he looks at people, he usually doesn't look at their faces, he looks at their eyes. Wang Lina's eyes are big, round, clear, bling and very lively. But when she smiled, her big eyeballs immediately hid and turned into a crescent moon. As she smiled, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, which was unforgettable. And now, there is a hint of desire and expectation in those eyes. Bai Yu misunderstood and thought for a moment before saying, do you like reading novels? I guess so, but I like stories, especially novel and exciting ones. A novel story. Bai Yu thought about it, and there were still many things in his mind. The culture of a whole world is in his mind, and he wants to hear stories. It's easy. Well, let us forget about the exciting ghost stories for now. After all, Wang Lina still has a scar on her stomach. So, novel? The literary diversity in this world is no less than that in the previous life, including mystery, suspense, history, military, romance, science fiction, etc. But if you think about it carefully, it seems that there is a category missing. Martial arts. Sure enough, this treasure is unique to Greater China and cannot be found in another world. This is normal. After all, even in the previous life, the category of martial arts was basically only circulated in China. As for other countries, most of them could not understand it. Even some former Asian vassal states did not have a martial arts culture. As for this life, there is a complete blank in this area in China. Okay, then I'll tell you a story about a man with 4 eyebrows. 4 eyebrows? How can someone have 4 eyebrows? Wang Lina became interested when she heard the story, not to mention that she raised 4 eyebrows as soon as she opened her mouth. She changed into a comfortable posture and looked at Bai Yu eagerly. Hey, he has more than just 4 eyebrows, he also has 2 pairs of eyes and 2 pairs of ears. Is this a human? Don't worry, let me tell you slowly whether it is a human being or not. His name is Liu Xiaofeng. Don't think he is a woman. Although his name is Xiaofeng, he is a real man. That day, Liu Xiaofeng found the most beautiful lady boss to accompany him for drinking. However, he just lay on the bed with a full glass of wine on his chest. The wine didn't spill because he lay there motionless, looking like a dead person. He has thick eyebrows, long eyelashes, and a neatly trimmed mustache. R. Wang Lina suddenly screamed and interrupted, for eyebrows, does a beard count as a pair of eyebrows? Bai Yu smiled without saying anything and continued. The prettiest lady boss is sitting opposite. She is indeed a very beautiful woman, with curved eyebrows, big eyes, and plump lips. She looks like a ripe peach. The most attractive thing about her is not her face or her figure, but her mature charm. Any man will be interested in her. As he said this, he glanced at Wang Lina. Perhaps noticing Bai Yu's gaze, Wang Lina quickly tightened her clothes. Because of the heat, her neckline was opened wider, and because she had just given birth to a child, her already strong assets were now even fuller. Her ears turned red, she coughed, and heard Bai Yu start talking again. The lady boss poured wine for Lu Xiaofeng again and again, but every time, Lu Xiaofeng drank with his eyes closed, without even looking at her. The lady boss felt helpless and couldn't help asking him, "Hey, you asked me to drink with you, why are you lying there like a dead person, without even looking at me?" Guess what Lu Xiaofeng said? I don't know. Bai Yu smiled and said, Lu Xiaofeng said, "I'm afraid you will seduce me." Wang Lina. I suspect you are hinting at something, though I have no proof. Chapter 14, delicious. At first, I thought it was just a short joke, or a short story that was made up on the spur of the moment. After all, for eyebrows, 2 pairs of eyes, and 2 pairs of ears all appeared. What kind of monster is that, and which page of the Shanhai Jing is it in? Is it delicious to eat? Does it have an aphrodisiac effect when used? Just as the chapter opens. A woman with white skin, plump breasts, and long, strong thighs. He can't sleep without a woman, that's his problem. If you also have a wife as beautiful as mine, you will be able to accept it. It is so spring-like, and I feel that the scholars are having fun. They are really full of lust, and the ripples are blowing in my face, and the wheels are rushing around. Arrived at the 2nd floor again. Strange, I seem to see 2 people in the room just now. There are already 2 people here. If someone really came in, why didn't I hear the knock on the door just now? Because we didn't knock. Are you really human? If it's not a human, then it must be a living ghost. I don't believe it. What do you not believe? Anyone who comes to my room will knock on the door first. Only a stray dog would jump in through the window without thinking twice. Phew. Wang Lina laughed and found it quite funny. Such a description was witty and humorous, and it also had an indescribable flavor. She was a girl and could not avoid clichés. Compared with men's plays, she still liked love-related things. Unless it's something that 2 men can be passionate about. But after listening for a long time, I went from being confused at the beginning to being fascinated now. In addition to the novelty, the white jade played an indispensable role. The novelty lies in the fact that it is unheard of. For example, it is said that he can crack a walnut placed on 3 pieces of tofu with a whip. Oh my god! How could a normal person do such a horrible thing, unless they are not normal? He put all his strength into it, but he still couldn't pull the whip out from between Lu Xiaofeng's 2 fingers. Why? Wang Lina didn't understand, but she caught a word. Good, great kung fu. Lu Xiaofeng is indeed worthy of his reputation. Effort. The meaning of this term that she knew was roughly the time and energy spent. For example, putting in effort. There is another meaning, which is probably skill or accomplishment. Used here, the second explanation seems to be more appropriate, but as she went deeper, she suddenly realized that the kung fu mentioned by Bai Yu seemed to have another meaning. But soon, she was attracted by the eloquent person. For example, the nickname of the scarred man is Iron-Faced Judge, and the one holding a pair of silver hooks is called Soul-Catching Hands. There is also Liu Yuhan, a man with half of his face cut off and a hideous appearance, who actually has a nickname called Jade-Faced Young Man. Aren't you ashamed? Of course, it seems that this title existed before he was disfigured. It is obvious that this disfigured Liu Yuhan must have been a handsome and elegant gentleman in the past. Why do you want to die? Because if you don't want me, I'll kill you. So interesting. Wang Lina listened attentively, and all kinds of characters appeared in her mind involuntarily. It seemed that Bai Yu was not telling a story, but playing a movie with his mouth. Wow wow wow. Xiao Pingping started crying without knowing what was happening. Bai Yu's story came to an abrupt end and she quickly ran over to comfort the child. Oh my goodness, I pooped. That's a bit rude. I quickly changed the diaper and washed Xiao Pingping's butt, running around everywhere. Wang Liner was a little unhappy. Little boy, your mother is listening to a story and you come to disturb the situation. Are you mom's bulletproof vest? Watching Bai Yu cleaning Cho Cho with a doting and gentle look on her face, Wang Liner suddenly felt that it seemed like being a family was pretty good. Oh, no, no. She quickly threw the terrible thoughts out of her mind. Bai Yu is indeed a good person, gentle, handsome, and most importantly, talented. But it's too short, the time is too short. In just 1 or 2 days, she couldn't see through Bai Yu at all. Not to mention the 10 months of hardship. Although Bai Yu was informed of the cesarean section, if it was really that simple to let Bai Yu pick up a pair of children. She was a little unbalanced. Why should I be pregnant for 10 months, carrying a big belly alone, unable to sleep and having difficulty going to the toilet in the middle of the night, and now you take advantage of it? Well, I was the one who hid it, and I insisted on giving birth to the child. What? I was being unreasonable. I'm just being unreasonable. What's wrong? The child felt comfortable, but Xiao Pingping was still whining and crying. Oh, look at your sister, aren't you ashamed? Bai Yu tried to coax the child, but the crying did not stop. He slapped his forehead and turned to look at Wang Liner. I'm afraid he's hungry. Wang Liner was stunned. Give it to me. The child was brought to her. Wang Liner hugged him gently, unbuttoned the button, and pulled down her collar. Then she felt something was wrong and looked up at Bai Yu. What are you looking at? Oh, I think you're so weak, how about I help you? I'm going to die. Wang Liner blushed, but the child was still crying and looking at her eagerly. She had no choice but to bite the bullet and feed the child in front of Bai Yu. Sure enough, as soon as the child found the rations, he started eating immediately. Little foodie. There is still plenty of milk, more than enough to feed 2 little ones. Because of the milk engorgement, a lot of it can be squeezed out. You must nourish yourself after giving birth, but because Wang Liner had a cesarean section, she could only eat liquid food at the beginning. But after a day or 2, you can start eating supplements. The woman in the next bed was drinking chicken soup, which was brought to her by her mother and mother-in-law. Come on, try it. The enthusiastic aunt started again and brought over a bowl of chicken soup. Pregnant women must not be exposed to cold during confinement. They must keep up with nutrition and maintain a good mood, otherwise there will be hidden dangers in the future. Oh, you can't eat such a bland diet. You need to add more food slowly. You can have meat slowly, but nutritious soup is a must. It's best to recover fully before leaving the hospital. Thank you, Auntie. Bai Yu took the chicken soup and thanked her quickly, then sat beside the bed and fed Wang Liner the chicken soup. I'll do this myself. Wang Liner lowered her head with a smile on her lips and her cheeks flushed. After all, she was a little shy and somewhat uncomfortable. She wondered if this was the feeling of being in love. But the next moment, his hand felt heavy and there was a soup bowl in it, and his defense was instantly broken. Oh! He really handed her the bowl and spoon without any hesitation, and she felt a little helpless. The correct process should not be for both parties to be affectionate with each other, pretend to refuse, and take turns taking a bite in an atmosphere filled with cute pink bubbles. Woo woo woo. There is no love anymore, there is no love anymore. Before you get it, you have already lost it. My sorrow turns to appetite, drink. Delicious. Well, I want more. Chapter 15, Pork Stomach and Chicken. Without parents, Bai Yu would naturally have to do tasks like making soup to supplement nutrition. Fortunately, he had inherited the cooking skills of many Chinese and foreign chefs, even including the skills of a state banquet chef, and now his cooking skills have become the best in the world. I believe it should not be difficult to make a soup. After all, we can't always drink other people's chicken soup. Bai Yu did not plan to make a simple chicken soup, but went to the supermarket to buy semi-finished pork stomach, wolfberry, red dates, codernopsis and other ingredients, as well as star anise, bay leaves, cinnamon and other seasonings. He lives in a rental house now, and has never cooked in the house. There is not even the simplest oil, salt, sauce and vinegar in the house. So when I went home, I carried a big bag of things. The house is not big and has no atmosphere of life. Instead, it is filled with empty wine bottles of various kinds. If an outsider comes in, the first thought he would think is that a drunkard lives here. Although there has never been a stove and no cooking materials, the apartment is fully equipped with an electric rice cooker, casserole, range hood, and gas. Because there was a pregnant woman in the hospital, the materials Bai Yu bought were all already processed. After all, if it was a whole pig's stomach, it would be difficult to clean up and a waste of time. But even so, he washed it several times, and soaked it in salt, wine and vinegar for a while preparing other ingredients. After the soaking time is sufficient, Bai Yu stuffs the chicken, red dates, wolfberries and other ingredients into the pig's stomach and then seals the opening. Then put it in water, skim off the foam, wait until it is completely clean, then pour out the water, add clean water, put in the seasonings, and start to simmer over low heat. 2 hours later, when the pig's stomach and chicken were taken out, the soup was already emitting an enticing aroma that made one's mouth water just by smelling it. He cut the pork stomach and chicken into pieces and put them into the soup. He also cut the ginger into shreds and cooked them again for 10 minutes. He poured all the pork stomach and chicken into the electric lunchbox he bought when he got home and rushed to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, Wang Liner was playing with the child. Maybe it was because Bai Yu was around, the pressure in her heart was obviously less, and she looked a little more lively and alert than when they first met, with more smiles on her face. Hey, as a brother, how can you bully your sister? The two little guys haven't opened their eyes yet, and they can't even understand what people say. A lot of their actions are based on instinct. He just kicks his legs or starts crying when he feels uncomfortable. Anyway, for babies like these, crying loudly can solve the problem. You're recovering well. What's this? Wang Liner smiled helplessly and saw Bai Yu coming in with a lunchbox. Judging from the marks left on the table by the lunchbox, there were a lot of things in it. Speaking of which, Auntie's bowl of chicken soup has aroused my appetite. I really want to eat Jingdalu's pig's feet. When I was pregnant, I vomited everything I ate. Later, when the morning sickness stopped, I didn't dare to eat anything else. After all, the food consumed outside is high in oil and salt, and I was afraid that eating too much would affect the baby. Now that the goods have been unloaded, she really can't hold back any longer. Jingda building. Okay, I'll go ask for you tomorrow. Don't, why don't you just ask now? Bai Yu patted the electric lunchbox. We're having this tonight, I made it. Oh. Wang Liner was surprised. You did it? This. Can I eat it? Because it is an electric lunchbox, it has strong heat preservation and stronger sealing, so you can't smell any odor at all. But Wang Liner was a little bit unconvinced. Of course, she didn't think Bai Yu was going to harm her. She didn't believe in Bai Yu's craftsmanship. But then, she saw Bai Yu open the lid, and at the same time, a puff of white steam came out, and a fresh fragrance filled the air. Gurgle. As soon as Wang Liner smelled the fragrance, her stomach growled and she swallowed subconsciously. Her face turned red, and she saw that Bai Yu didn't care, but had already taken a small bowl and started to serve soup. But what was served was a bunch of strips of food, probably some kind of meat cut into strips. Apart from this, she naturally recognized the chicken at a glance. The yellow chicken fat was skimmed off, revealing the white and tender chicken with a few touches of red on top. Those are wolfberries and red dates. Come, try it. Wang Liner couldn't wait any longer, so she quickly took the spoon and scooped up a spoonful. Be careful of the heat. Wang Liner blew it and then put the spoon into her mouth. Suddenly, a rich fragrance filled my mouth. I swallowed it, took another sip, and savored it carefully. It was so delicious that I couldn't resist it. Wang Liner's family conditions are quite good and she has eaten a lot of good food. Or, it can be said that there is almost no famous delicacy that she has not eaten. She already had a rough idea of the ingredients in the small bowl. The meat cut into strips is clearly pig stomach. Pork belly chicken. She had eaten hacker specialties before, but these kinds of food were too nutritious, so she had only tried them for fun and found them delicious. But when I eat it again now, I suddenly find that my previous memory seems a little fuzzy, or perhaps this bowl has overshadowed the taste of my early years. But how is this possible? After all, she was visiting with her grandfather, and the chef in charge was a top-notch chef. As far as hacker cuisine is concerned, no one can surpass him. This bowl. Could it be because he was greedy for unloading? After all, when people are hungry, even white steamed buns and white rice seem delicious. How? Not bad, not bad. Delicious. Wang Liner took a bite of the pig's stomach, which was soft and chewy, and also a little crispy. Well, this is really made by you, you cook so deliciously. Wang Liner has put aside the messy thoughts in her head and has completely turned into a foodie. What? Jingdalu's pig's trotter? At this moment, the only thing on her mind was pig stomach and chicken. Hey, you found a treasure. This is the first time I've cooked for a girl in my life. Doesn't that mean I'm the first girl to eat your cooking? Yes. Hey. It doesn't matter whether the words are true or false, what matters is that they are said. Wang Liner enjoyed the meal, and the two of them naturally became closer. Oh, what is this? It smells so good. The aunt came over following the smell, and when she saw Wang Liner eating happily, her nose twitched slightly and her eyes widened. Hello, auntie, come and let me have a taste too. Bai Yu quickly filled a bowl, handed it to the aunt, and introduced the pork tripe and chicken soup. TSK, I never thought that a young man like you would have such a skill. The aunt didn't eat it, she just smelled it, and when she looked at the white soup, she knew that this soup was extraordinary. She looked up and down at Bai Yu as if she was recognizing him all over again. But she quickly took the bowl to her daughter-in-law's bedside. Seeing his daughter-in-law's eyes light up immediately after taking a bite, he even drank the soup and ate the meat faster, and he became more certain. How's it going? Delicious and tasty. The portion was not large to begin with, so the small bowl was quickly finished. The daughter-in-law licked her lips and swallowed all the soup. Mom, where did you buy this? It's not bought, the guy in the next bed made it himself. The daughter-in-law was startled, and then she looked at her husband with a hint of resentment. They are all husbands, why is there such a big difference? Why don't you go to get the scriptures? The aunt slapped her son on the back and yelled at him. The man with glasses smiled bitterly and thought, being a man is so difficult. Chapter 16 Fang Rongzhong. Fang Rongzhong was helpless, after all, he was very busy with work, but this time he just happened to take a vacation while his wife was giving birth. My mother and mother-in-law are helping out, and he spends most of his time hanging around the hospital. It is said that women experience great mood swings during pregnancy and confinement, and this is not just talk. His previously docile wife had become ill-tempered, and he did not dare to yell at her. This is not. Others also give birth to children, and they also see their husbands making delicious food for their wives. There are several restaurants in his family, so Fang Rongzhong can be considered a half-gourmet. The smell was indeed delicious, but he hadn't yet seen clearly what kind of soup it was. Brother, your craft is pretty good. The other person still looked young, so he must be younger than me. Fang Rongzhong is just 30 years old this year, and he is still a little surprised that a young person like Bai Yu got married and had children so early. It's okay. We've run into each other several times when going in and out. Both of us were giving birth and were new fathers, so naturally we've had some communication. They also know each other's simple names. For example, Bai Yu knew that this man's surname was Fang and his name was Rongzhong. Of course, the name was told to him by a kind-hearted auntie. You're making soup for your wife, and it's really making me suffer. Fang Rongzhong smiled bitterly and glanced at the lunch box. You can roughly see the ingredients inside. Is this belly-stuffed chicken? Exactly. Can I try it? Okay. Fang Rongzhong was still a little embarrassed, but he was indeed attracted by the fragrance. He hadn't paid much attention to it before when he saw his wife eating so happily, but now that he observed it closely, he immediately paid attention to it. The soup is fragrant and white in color, without any peculiar smell. It only has the fragrance of chicken soup and the sweetness of pork tripe. There are a few wolfberries and a jujube floating on it, which makes the soup look more beautiful. Stirring it with a spoon, a strange look flashed in Fang Rongzhong's eyes. The meat. The chicken is not cut but torn to make it more flavorful. But the pork belly is what he is most concerned about. There is actually no difference in the size of these pork tripe strips. Thinking it was just a coincidence, Fang Rongzhong picked a few more and took a look, and sure enough, they were all the same size. What amazing knife skills! You should know that pig's stomach is soft and slippery, and it is not as easy to cut as vegetables. Of course, it is not difficult if you want to cut it well. Only. This is relative, that is to say, ordinary people would not make pig's stomach chicken so easily, it would be of the same size. Brother, are you a chef? Fang Rongzhong felt that he must have guessed wrong. After all, Bai Yu was good-looking, and had a kind of calmness that even he couldn't see through. The most important thing was that he was too young. There is no sign of a chef at all. Sure enough, Bai Yu shook his head. He didn't ask any more questions and just opened his mouth to taste it. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. The soup is rich and fragrant, and the meat is plump and refreshing. Especially the control of the heat, which is simply perfect. But there are still some flaws. The chicken is loose, dry and tough. This is probably not a problem with the cooking method, but a problem with the ingredients. They are clearly broilers that were quickly slaughtered in a chicken farm and have been frozen. As for the pork trip, it has been stored for at least 3 days, and the cuticle has changed, resulting in a poor taste. Also, after all, it is made at home and brought here, and it is served in an electric lunch box. I believe it will taste even better when it is just out of the casserole. However, apart from these problems, this bowl of pork tripe and chicken soup is definitely at the level of a top chef. Even if the problem of ingredients were solved, this bowl of pork tripe and chicken soup would probably surpass the cooking skills of the top chef in his own restaurant. How is this possible? Fang Rongjong took another sip and an expression of enjoyment appeared on his face. Brother, you're really not a chef. This is not a homely craft at all. Fang Rongjong felt that Bai Yu was not telling him the truth. Really not. Wang Lina, who was standing next to them, found it strange to see the two of them chatting. Fang Rongjong chatted with Bai Yu for a while and then left. After all, his wife still needed to rest. That's great, I didn't expect your soup to be so delicious. Wang Lina was not stupid. At first she thought that she had been abstaining from food for too long, but after drinking several bowls in a row, she finally realized what was going on. I ate too much because it was so delicious. No big deal. After all, if my cooking skills are second to none, no one would dare to claim to be first. TSK, I told you were fat and you gasped. Wang Lina pouted. She was so sleepy after eating and drinking that she didn't know when she fell asleep. Perhaps it was because drinking Bai Yu's soup opened up her appetite that Wang Lina's gluttony came out. If she hadn't needed to recuperate, she might have run out of the hospital on her own. However, the doctor has examined her and said that she is recovering well and can be discharged from the hospital in 3 days. At this time, she can get up on her own and go to the bathroom without the help of others. The two little guys also changed their appearance so much that people wanted to hold them in their mouths. Reluctantly bidding farewell to the two little ones, Bai Yu went out and took a taxi to Jingde Tower. After Wang Lina mentioned this place, he looked it up. Jingdalu is an old restaurant in Huating. It has been open for more than 40 years. The owner started from scratch, from an old and small restaurant to now has branches in the 4 major first-tier cities across the country. Moreover, this brand is quite famous in Huating. The reason why Bai Yu didn't know was because he was too poor and had no access to such a store. After all, the minimum per capita cost of a restaurant was 1,500 yuan. How could an orphan and a college student possibly have the chance to go there? TSK, young man, you also play stocks. After Bai Yu got on the train, he opened the software. HT would have several more daily limit increases, and Bai Yu was ready to catch the last wave to enter the market. After all, it was a 10-fold leverage, so he could just grab HT in one wave and leave. He has also set his sights on automobiles, and will make a big move in the automobile sector after HT is done. The driver was an uncle in his 50s, but he looked a little anxious and had less hair on the top of his head. When he started the car, he noticed the screen on Bai Yu's phone and asked in surprise, HT Technology. You bought this stock too? Bai Yu nodded. This was a great achievement for him to meet an amateur. Oh my, this stock has really gone up like crazy in the past 2 days. I had 10,000 shares before, but the decline was so severe that I sold 7,000. Oh my, I'm really losing a lot of money. The uncle looked very annoyed and asked, how much did you buy, young man? Uncle, do you really want to listen? I'm afraid you can't stand it. TSK, I'm an old stock investor, why do you look down on me? Oh, maybe hundreds of thousands. What, hundreds of thousands? My goodness, that doesn't mean you've invested nearly 1 million? When did you buy it? Oh, wasn't there a wave of ups and downs a few days ago? I just happened to buy at the lowest point. Uncle. The car stopped with a hiss. The uncle looked at Bai Yu deeply and said in a deep voice, we're here. The car door opened, and Bai Yu was about to leave when the uncle called out, hey, little brother, can you join the group? Chapter 17, Chance Encounter. As a boss, Fang Rongzhong is pretty qualified. He inherited the business from his father. He started to help 2 years ago and now Jingdalu has been handed over to him. The family motto is hung in the hall, and Fang Rongzhong dare not forget it. But he also knew that the times were progressing, and if nothing changed, Jingdalu would surely begin to decline. Especially in this era of dining, at a glance, almost all of them are fast food, hot pot, skewers, etc. driven by capital. I came here today to have a chat with Chef Shu. Of course, the key is to try Master Shu's pig stomach chicken. I had called Master Shu before coming here. After all, Master Shu is the head chef of Jingdalu, and he rarely cooks nowadays unless there are important guests. After he returned from the hospital yesterday, he kept thinking about the bowl of soup made by Bai Yu. It was even clearer when he woke up the next morning. He definitely would never forget that taste. However, he hadn't eaten Master Shu's pig stomach and chicken for a long time, and for a moment he couldn't remember what Master Shu's pig stomach and chicken tasted like. Boss. Fang Rongzhong often came to Jingda building for inspection, and he had greeted the waiter before coming, so when he came in, the waiter came to greet him immediately. Xiao Ruan, where is Master Shu? Master Shu is in the kitchen. Fang Rongzhong nodded and was about to go to the kitchen to take a look, but the next moment, he saw a familiar figure. The other party seemed to be placing an order, and the waiter in the store was standing by and waiting quietly. I've already made a reservation before coming here. I want to take away a portion of braised pig's trotters with soybeans. It's for pregnant women. All dishes that involve steaming, boiling or stewing take a lot of time, so you must make reservations in advance before coming. It's no wonder that capital doesn't like it. After all, it takes 1 or 2 hours to prepare a dish. How can those traders sitting in high-end office buildings afford to wait? By the way, give me another serving of egg fried rice. The waiter nodded and looked at Bai Yu strangely. People who came to Jingdalu to eat usually came in groups, and it was almost rare to see someone eating alone. Not to mention I only ordered 1 serving of egg fried rice. But they open the door to welcome guests, and they will naturally serve whatever the guests order. The waiter was about to leave when he saw Fang Rongzhong coming over. He immediately said, "Boss." Then she saw Fang Rongzhong nodded with a smile, then looked at the handsome young man serving her and said with a smile, "Bai Yu, I didn't expect to see you here." I didn't expect to see you here. Bai Yu saw Fang Rongzhong when he walked over. He was confused, but when he heard the waiter's address, he knew the other party's identity. He thought to himself that it was no wonder that Fang Rongzhong drank his soup and kept asking him if he was a chef. It turned out that they were half fellow chefs. My wife must be a frequent visitor to your Jingdalu. She insists on eating your Jingdalu's pig's feet. I see. Fang Rongzhong suddenly realized that the pork feet of Jingdalu were originally the signature dish, but Bai Yu's wife had just given birth, so spicy and braised food could not be eaten for the time being. But Bai Yu must have already told him, so he didn't look for a seat and sat directly opposite Bai Yu. He waved to the 2 waiters beside him, asking them to do their work, and by the way asked Master Shu to bring the prepared pork belly and chicken. I drank your pork tripe and chicken soup yesterday, so today I'd like to let you try our Jingdalu soup. He didn't know how good Bai Yu's cooking skills were, but just considering the pork belly and chicken, Bai Yu's skills were already at the level of a master chef. There are many private dishes nowadays. If Bai Yu opens a small shop specializing in pig stomach and chicken, I believe there will be more and more repeat customers. The 2 had met for several days, but this was the first time they had a real chat. That's perfect. 1 serving of egg fried rice probably won't fill you up. As Bai Yu was speaking, her cell phone started beeping. That was the group that I joined with the uncle earlier. It was full of amateur artists, about 20 people in total. The uncle's hands are very fast and he doesn't look like a man in his early 50s at all. A new guy has come, he has hundreds of thousands of HT, and he got it from the ground and sky board a few days ago. Fuck, is this true? A new person is here? Male or female, show us your photos. HT has been on the rise for 2 consecutive days, I'm afraid it will fall sharply. I've already run away. This is clearly a scam. Some people even posted their own accounts. Bai Yu simply glanced at it and ignored it, but Fang Rongzhong noticed it, raised his eyebrows, and asked in surprise, "You are still trading stocks?" "Well, just a little fight. After all, Jingdalu is a family business, so Fang Rongjung naturally received a good education, especially the second generation who liked to read management, finance, philosophy, etc. Fang Rongjung happens to have a double master's degree in management and finance, so he is naturally familiar with stocks. Shares have been in trouble in the past 2 years. Fang Rongjung wanted to remind Bai Yu that, after all, stocks were not something that ordinary people could play with. Even if he is a professional, he can only play with his pocket money. As he was speaking, Master Shu came over pushing a cart. There was a medium-sized white casserole on top, as well as bowls and plates for dipping sauces. Why did Mr. Fang suddenly want to eat pig stomach chicken today? Master Shu is over 50 years old, but you can't tell from his appearance. There are not many wrinkles on his face, but you can still see them at the corners of his eyes and neck. Moreover, he is different from the ordinary people's impression of a chef. He is not fat at all. Instead, he is tall and thin, with a somewhat elegant air. Hey, isn't this what I miss about you? Although Fang Rongjung is the boss, he does not put on airs in front of Master Shu. After all, Master Shu has been in Jingdalu for nearly 20 years, and the other party has practically watched him grow up. Hey, do you think I believe you? His eyes fell on Bai Yu. Oh, let me introduce you. This is Bai Yu. Didn't Yue Wei just give birth? Her wife also just gave birth. Bai Yu was originally an outsider, but Fang Rongjung introduced him, so he could only say hello to the other party briefly. Master Shu left quickly. After all, he was still needed to keep an eye on the kitchen. Come on, try it. Fang Rongjung served Bai Yu a bowl and another bowl for himself. The smell that wafted out was very fragrant, and seemed to be no different from what I smelled yesterday. He took a sip, ate some chicken and pork belly, and the expression on his face changed a little. He looked up and asked Bai Yu, "How is it?" "Well, not bad." "Good." Although it was a compliment, Fang Rongjung could understand the meaning behind the words. Although he is not a gourmet, his family runs a restaurant and he has been hanging out in the kitchen since he was a child. Which chef's food has he not eaten at home? So this tongue has become picky. It can be said that he may not be able to cook it, but he can definitely eat it and taste it. If ordinary people were to eat this bowl of pig stomach and chicken, they would definitely be salivating and exclaim that it was delicious. Of course, Bai Yu's dish would probably be the same. But most people probably can't taste the difference between the 2 servings of pork belly and chicken. But Fang Rongjung could taste it, although the difference was very subtle. Each has its own strengths? Yes, although there are differences, both taste good. After all, they are made by 2 different people. No. Wrong. Fang Rongjung suddenly remembered that Bai Yu's pork belly and chicken were just made at home, and the ingredients were not as good as those of Jingdalu. After all, Jingdalu had very strict control over the quality of ingredients. Whether a dish is delicious or not has a lot to do with the ingredients. So, is white jade better? Hiss. How is this possible? Chapter 18 Egg Fried Rice. The Jingder building currently managed by Fang Rongjung is the head office of Fang's Jingder building. It was also the starting point for his parents to become bigger and stronger. There are 4 more restaurants like this in Huating. It's just that the other 4 restaurants are a little different from this one. The most obvious thing is the decoration. Other restaurants are basically decorated according to 5-star standards, but this one is different. The decoration is not so luxurious and the area it occupies is not large. But most of the people who come here to eat are old customers who have been coming for more than 10 years or even decades, so the importance of this restaurant is self-evident. This is also because Master Shu is in charge. However, in his early years, his father was the head chef, and Master Shu was helping his father. But decades later, Master Shu's cooking skills have long surpassed his father's. A competitor once offered millions to poach him, but Master Shu refused. But such an awesome person actually lost out on the dish of pork stomach and chicken? Not to mention that Fang Rongjung didn't dare to believe it. Even if he told it to himself, his father probably wouldn't believe it. Just as my heart was in turmoil, a plate of egg fried rice was served. Then he watched Bai Yu stir the egg fried rice and started eating. Yes, it is just a simple egg fried rice, but it has a few more shrimps than ordinary egg fried rice. Sometimes after going out for a drink at night, Fang Rongjung would go to a restaurant to eat some fried rice. How does it taste? This bowl of egg fried rice was probably not made by Chef Shu, but the chef in the kitchen was skilled enough. Perhaps because he inherited the cooking skills of several top chefs, Bai Yu's tongue is more sensitive than before. He can clearly distinguish good from bad, taste the saltiness, and find out the advantages and disadvantages. If it was him in the past, even in his previous life, this bowl of egg fried rice would be considered excellent. Of course, the key issue is that the rice is good and the grains are full. At a glance, there are few broken grains. The few that are there should be those that the chef accidentally broke when frying the rice. You can eat 2 bowls of this kind of rice even without the dried vegetables. Do you want to hear the truth or a lie? Of course it's true. Bai Yu put down the spoon, took a sip of water, and said, the rice was a little hard when it was put into the pot, which means it was left for too long, causing the water to be lost. And the chef used a little too high a heat when frying it, so the rice is a little dry overall. It may also be that the chef is obsessed with making the grains distinct, golden and plump. Although it looks good, it actually affects the taste. You should have fried the eggs first before making your fried rice, but unfortunately, the eggs were overcooked. You didn't control the heat well. Bai Yu said a lot of things, and Fang Rongzhong's expression became more and more ugly. After pointing out a lot of problems, I would like to say that, of course, there are still some advantages. It looks good. Well, the advantage is that it looks good. What kind of advantage is this? They opened a simple restaurant, and people who came here were there to eat, not to stay overnight. Therefore, they have only one purpose in Jingdalu, which is to make authentic food. As for other decorations, they are secondary. To sum up what Bai Yu said, isn't it just flashy and impractical? Actually, his father had ordered this once. After all, his father was already semi-retired, but he would still come to the main store to eat from time to time. A few months ago, I said that new dishes focus too much on being gorgeous and ignore the taste. But at that time we were talking about new dishes. Who would have thought that even fried rice with egg has become a trend now? Fang Rongzhong took a bite and frowned. The taste. There seemed to be no problem, so he rinsed his mouth and tasted it again. This time, he indeed found some problems. For example, the eggs are old and the rice is hard. Putting down the spoon, Fang Rongzhong stared at Bai Yu. I thought to myself, you still say he is not a chef. How could it be such a common practice when it is so professional? Are you interested in going to the kitchen? Fang Rongzhong thought Bai Yu was only good at cooking the pig's stomach and chicken, but he could taste the flaws in the egg fried rice as soon as he took a bite. Obviously, he must have cooked the egg fried rice very well, and he must have a very sensitive tongue. I'm planning to rent a house in Yipin. Is there any way? After all, Yipin is a luxury house in Huating, and it is difficult for ordinary agents to find such a house, not to mention that they have to run back and forth, but he still has to take care of Wang Lina. First rank. Fang Rongzhong was stunned. He didn't expect Bai Yu to suddenly say this. But he also understood and said with a smile, it's no big deal. After all, he is the local boss of Huating. Unfortunately, my family doesn't have a house in Yipin. Does it have to be Yipin? Arc de Triomphe? Xintiandi? Ganjiang? Okay, I'll ask for you. I have a friend in Yipin. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. Okay, let's go to the kitchen. We are all smart people, there is no need to beat around the bush. Actually, the food here is very good. Bai Yu felt that his previous evaluation was a bit harsh. In order to prevent the chef from suffering unnecessary disaster, he still gave a reminder. Of course I know this. The chefs at Jingdalu are among the best in Huating in terms of both treatment and cooking skills. As they were talking, they went to the kitchen and happened to meet Master Shu drinking tea. Mr. Fang, have you finished eating? Not yet, pack it for me later. Master Shu's expression changed slightly, and Fang Rongzhong noticed it. He coughed dryly and said, Master Shu, I don't believe in your cooking skills. But I also drank pig's stomach and chicken soup yesterday, and I think it's comparable to yours. Oh. A look of surprise flashed across Master Shu's face. He is a Cantonese chef, and his pork belly and chicken are his specialties, which are on par with his. Although there are countless chefs across the country, when it comes to Cantonese cuisine, and then broken down to his level, there seem to be few who can cook at his level. Who came to Huating? Yes, he did it. Perhaps knowing what Master Shu was thinking, Fang Rongzhong reintroduced Bai Yu with a strange look on his face. Mr. Shu. Master Shu glanced at Bai Yu's young face and then looked at Fang Rongzhong. His eyes seemed to say, are you kidding me? My soybean stewed pig's feet will be ready soon. The kitchen was not small, but not too big either. There were 5 or 6 people cooking. Although the smell was a bit mixed, Bai Yu still found the pig's trotters stewed with soybeans. Is this yours? A chef nearby asked, and seeing Bai Yu nod, he said, it's almost done, just a few minutes. Okay, I'll just make some egg fried rice and leave. Bai Yu turned around and said to Fan Rongzhong, already rolling up his sleeves, Nana is still hungry. If the child makes a fuss, she definitely can't do it alone. Fang Rongzhong opened his mouth, but in the end no sound came out. He was really curious about the situation between Bai Yu and Wang Lina. It has been several days and I haven't seen my parents. What's going on? Master Shu was confused. He didn't know what was going on. His mind was still on what Fan Rongzhong had just said about the young man's pig tripe and chicken being as good as his. What a joke! It's not that he is arrogant, but it is impossible for a young man in his early 20s to be on par with him. But Bai Yu has already started. Fang Rongzhong also briefly talked about Bai Yu's request for egg fried rice. Master Shu, you have to pay more attention in the kitchen. Although I said that we need to change and attract new customers, I don't mean to sacrifice the taste. The fact that it looks good is actually his fault. After all, after he took over the main store, he wanted to create some new dishes, preferably ones that could attract young customers. If you want to attract young customers, you can only go for the good-looking and novel approach. Oh, that's difficult. Although cooking requires color, fragrance and taste, and color even comes first, if you want to look good without affecting the taste, the requirements for cooking skills will be much higher. Take your time, developing new dishes is not that easy. As the two were talking, Bai Yu had already started beating the eggs. Chapter 19 Feeding. He's trying to separate the egg white from the yolk. Generally, there are only 2 or 3 ways to make fried rice with egg. The most debated issue is whether to fry the eggs or the rice first. But actually both methods are fine, and both will taste delicious. But in addition to these 2 methods, there is another one, which is to separate the egg white and egg yolk. Pour the egg yolk into the rice and stir it. The egg will turn golden yellow, and the egg liquid will be fried until half cooked, then cut into pieces with a knife. Of course, if there are other ingredients, you can add them at this time, such as crab meat, shrimp, etc. Master Shu's usual method is to fry the eggs first, but only until they are half cooked, then take them out and fry the rice again. This young man has a unique technique. Master Shu stared intently. Bai Yu had already made preparations. He first heated the pan, poured a little oil into it, and then poured the rice directly into it. Fried rice directly. Fang Rongzhong was stunned. Then I saw Bai Yu's tossing the wok technique. He didn't use a spatula, but simply used the tossing technique to turn the rice, which originally had some lumps, into distinct grains. Moreover, during this period, he did not put down the pot at all. Soon, he poured out the rice again, then poured the egg yolks that had been separated earlier into the rice and began to stir it with chopsticks. Because it was fried for a while, the rice looked crystal clear and very loose. After stirring it for a while, the rice turned golden yellow. Then I started frying rice and also fried egg whites in another pan. Finally, stir fry again and add seasonings during the process. Soon, 2 servings of golden egg fried rice were ready. From the outside, it looks no different from what is made in the kitchen. But you can still smell the difference in the smell. Master Shu moved closer, stretched his neck, took a sniff, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. It smells so good. I'll take this one, and you guys can try the remaining one. I originally just came out to buy pig's trotters, but I wasted a lot of time and I don't know if the child has woken up or is making a fuss. Present it. Fang Rongzhong quickly asked the people in the kitchen for help, then picked up a spoon, scooped a spoonful of egg fried rice and stuffed it into his mouth. When you put the rice in your mouth, you first taste the taste of oil, but strangely, you don't feel greasy at all. After tasting and chewing it carefully, he actually felt like he was not eating rice. Perhaps because it has been fried several times, the rice tastes soft and chewy, like roasted wheat in the north. He ate several bites in a row, but so that after Master Shu took a bite, he just stood there motionless. Master Shu, what's going on? Yeah. Master Shu came back to his senses and said, simple ingredients can have very different tastes. Fried rice with egg is simple, and even the simplest one only has 2 or 3 ingredients. But the simpler it is, the harder it is to master. I've eaten too many egg fried rices, but this is the first time I've tasted something like this. This cannot be summed up with just one word: fragrance. Perhaps, their highest praise is not to stop eating until the meal is finished. Boss Fang, this guy is not simple. He can cook fried rice to this level, so his cooking skills are definitely not low. The most important thing is that he is young. If you are interested, you'd better recruit him. Maybe Jingder Building can reach a higher level in the future. Such a high rating. Fang Rongjong was surprised, but by the time he reacted, Bai Yu had disappeared. Where are the people? Gone. He just left with the lunchbox. Fang Rongjong breathed a sigh of relief and was not in a hurry. Bai Yu must have gone to the hospital, and Bai Yu also asked him to help find a house in Yipin, so there is no rush about this matter. The child must be hungry. Oh, you have enough milk, the two little ones won't go hungry. Well, you have to hold the back of the baby's head like this, otherwise he will choke on the milk. The enthusiastic aunt is helping again. But Wang Lina looked embarrassed. After all, she still felt a little uncomfortable breastfeeding by someone else, even though the other person was a woman. As he was speaking, Bai Yu came in carrying a lunchbox. Hey, your husband is back. The aunt smiled and then noticed the lunchbox in Bai Yu's hand. She was stunned for a moment and said, "Did you buy it at Jingder Building?" There was the Jingdalu logo on the bag. The auntie was the former owner of Jingdalu, so how could she not recognize it? Hey, if you want to eat Jingdalu pork knuckle, why didn't you tell me earlier? The aunt looked at Wang Lina unhappily, but since Bai Yu came, she retreated. Without Wang Lina asking, Bai Yu briefly recounted her previous experience, but he only spoke selectively. So the owner of Jingder Building next door is him. What a fate! Bai Yu opened the pig's feet and egg fried rice, and the aroma immediately filled her nose. It smells so good, what a pity, now I can only eat something bland. She actually wanted to eat braised pork trotters, but her child was still breastfeeding, so she was afraid she wouldn't be able to enjoy something so salty. This rice is good. There is a chef named Shu in Jingdalu who is a very skilled cook. My grandpa always goes there to eat every time he comes to Huating. She was holding the child in her arms, but she stretched her neck and stared at the lunchbox. Seeing this, Bai Yu served the pig's feet. Come on, open your mouth. Wang Lina was stunned. She looked at the spoon in front of her, hesitated for a moment, and finally opened her cherry mouth. She was holding the children in her arms, and they were eating happily. She definitely couldn't let go, and no one knew when these two little ones would be full. If you are not careful, the food you bring back will taste bad. Tasting the familiar taste again, Wang Lina showed a satisfied expression. But I still feel a little embarrassed. One is the first time to feed someone, and the other is the first time to be fed. Therefore, Wang Lina had to turn her head several times, and the spoon hit her teeth several times. Both of them were unfamiliar with it, but gradually, they became proficient. You should continue telling stories. I like the story about Lu Xiaofeng. Unable to look at her phone and confined to lying in bed, Wang Lina lived on stories. Of course, it wasn't just boring, it was really shocking. The story told by Bai Yu has a vivid plot and distinct characters, and it seems to be a complete novel. Could it be that he already had a blueprint in mind, otherwise how could he speak so skillfully? As for writing a novel, she had mentioned it to Bai Yu before, but Bai Yu didn't seem to have considered it. But this is not difficult. If Bai Yu doesn't write it, she will do it. The story has already taken shape anyway. Okay, let's talk about it. Bai Yu fed Wang Lina while telling a story. A mouthful of pig's trotter soup, a mouthful of meat, and a mouthful of egg fried rice. Wang Lina was like a robot, staring at Bai Yu eagerly. She would only open her mouth and eat the food when he brought her the food. Her mind was full of the stories Bai Yu told her, and she looked very serious. Just like a model student who listens attentively in class. Chapter 20, Fox thanks to Desert Lone Wolf for the $10,000 reward. Belch. He actually burped, in front of Bai Yu. Wang Lina quickly shut up and turned her head away, not daring to look at Bai Yu. Her ears turned red in an instant. I'm dying. I actually burped while eating. Will he think I'm a good for nothing? But the fried rice was really delicious. Did Master Shu make it himself? Hey, the last time I ate Master Shu's egg fried rice was about 2 years ago. Does it taste like this? Oh, never mind, but it's really delicious. I still want to eat it even when I'm full. The spoon is still in front of me. Bai Yu was also stunned and stopped telling the story. He looked down and found that the fried rice had been finished and even the braised pork trotter with soybeans was almost finished. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he thought to himself, what a big eater. No wonder I burped after eating. But I have to be careful next time and not eat so much. I don't know when the two little guys stopped sucking. They lay in their mother's arms with their eyes closed, as if they were lying in a moon boat. I don't know what sweet dreams they were having. Their long eyelashes trembled, and their little mouths were sucking as if they were sucking milk. They were so adorable. I will definitely take care of you after you are discharged from the hospital, so I will find a house next. Of course, you don't have to worry about these. These things must be explained to Wanlina first, after all, she is the victim. I think we can rent a house in Ipin. Then we won't have to live in your friend's house. It will be closer and you can visit him. Bai Yu took the child from Wanlina's arms. The little guy was soft and lying in Bai Yu's arms. He was very small, especially his little feet, which looked like they were made of dough. Renting a house in Ipin. Wanlina was stunned and silent for a moment, then said, the houses in Ipin are very expensive. She didn't know the exact rent, and the sizes of the properties in Ipin were definitely different, but the annual rent should start at 400,000. 400,000 may not be much for the second generation, but she was still very familiar with Bai Yu's situation. Why? No, does Bai Yu really understand? He is so good at composing music, writing lyrics in a weird way, and telling stories so tortuous and moving, with twists and turns in the plot. How could such a person be defeated by life if he is really firing on all cylinders? But family circumstances certainly cannot be faked. In today's society, it is very difficult to buy a house without family support. Potential stock. This is Wanlina's evaluation of Bai Yu. As for the care after being discharged from the hospital, she had no objection. After spending the past 2 days together, she suddenly felt that this was a good idea. Since Bai Yu is talented, I will keep her for now. When her problems are resolved, I will pave an easy path for Bai Yu. She will definitely become famous in the circle before she turns 30. Good. She didn't ask any more questions, just nodded. Watching Bai Yu secretly kissing the child's little feet, Wanlina had a smile on her lips. It was time to play with the phone, and the fox sent a lot of messages. Most of them are comments and urgings about the poem, The Moon is Full in the West Tower. Even a junior high school student should be able to see the beauty of this poem at a glance, let alone a top student like Fox who loves literature. When I come across such good words, I can't wait to have a long chat with the author. Nana, don't worry, I'll let you meet the author later. Fox, oh, you finally replied to my message. Fox, oh, no, let's meet the author later? Where? Nana, Ganjiang Road Maternal and Child Health Hospital. I'm on the 3rd floor, 302. Fox? Maternal and Child Health Hospital. What are you doing there? Oh, isn't that author giving birth? Fox, okay, I'll come after get off work. After they chatted for a while, Wanlina felt sleepy again. She felt sleepy after eating and drinking. This was her typical life. You've worked hard these past few days and haven't had much rest. I've told that friend that she will come to accompany me tonight. Why don't you take a rest? It's a good opportunity for me to have a good chat with her. You can meet tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Bai Yu basically didn't get any sleep these past few nights. Although he looked fine, it was bad for his health. Okay, I'll go to Ipin tomorrow to take a look. By the way, give me your room key. If I find a house, I'll move all your things to the new house while you're in the hospital. Why don't you wait until I'm discharged from the hospital and then come together? We haven't rented a house yet, have we? That's fine. Bai Yu was really a little tired, but also very happy. A few days of busyness, coupled with the influence of the child, made his half-dead heart active again. In this world, he finally had something to care about. He was no longer a person, nor a bird without feet. He can finally stop and rest in this world. Bai Yu dragged his tired body back home and fell asleep immediately. Finally, it was time to get off work. After being busy with papers all day, Fox stretched, tapped his neck, sorted out the materials, and drove to the Maternal and Child Health Hospital. Since he wanted to meet the author, Wanlina must be there. The two of us haven't seen each other for several months, and I miss each other a lot. Since it is a maternal and child healthcare hospital, I definitely need gifts. I bought some fruit baskets, asked for directions at the information desk, and finally reached the third floor after many turns. After walking a few steps, the fox saw room 302, knocked on the door, and then pushed it open and went in. But when she saw Wang Liner lying on the hospital bed, she was stunned. Nana, what are you doing? After all, she had never given birth to a child, nor had she seen anyone else giving birth, and she had never even visited a pregnant woman. When she saw the other person lying in bed, she thought she was sick. But soon, she came to her senses. What is this place? This is the maternal and child health hospital. Even if you are sick, why would you come here instead of going to the municipal hospital? Fox, you're here. Wang Liner is a very strong girl, otherwise she wouldn't have lived with the ball alone for so long. But when she saw the fox, she couldn't help herself, her nose felt sore, and she almost cried. She is tired after keeping it a secret for so long. The fox stopped abruptly from asking the question. What's the question? Asked if she had given birth to a child. Ask whose child it is. This would definitely be an accusation, but when she saw Wang Liner's weak expression, she knew that what Wang Liner needed at this time was comfort and companionship. It's okay, it's okay. She pretended to be calm and walked over, placing the flower basket and fruits on the cabinet. She also looked at the items on the cabinet. Lunch box. Anyone else? As well as 2 children. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked at Wang Liner, who nodded and said, mine. Fox took a deep breath, gave Wang Liner a big hug, patted her on the back, and felt heavy-hearted. This is definitely not normal. After all, if they are really in love and getting married, why would they hide it from others? So, Wang Liner suddenly left 8 months ago, not because she wanted to find inspiration, but because pregnant. Whose? Which beast did this? Nana, don't be afraid, tell me what's going on. The fox is very angry now, she wants to tear this bastard apart. Chapter 21, Narration. Even the strongest people can show weakness at times. Wang Liner couldn't hold back her tears in the end, and she sobbed softly while hugging each other. The grievances, fears, and worries during those countless days and nights are still vivid in my mind. It is said that pregnant women have great emotional fluctuations, but for the sake of her belly, she really suppressed all her emotional fluctuations. Now that she has released them, it is like a flood and cannot be controlled. All the sadness and pain are contained in these tears. She couldn't show this side of her in front of Bai Yu. After all, the two of them didn't really have any special feelings for each other. But the fox was different. She was a friend closer than sisters. The fox didn't say a word, just hugged her tightly, with a fierce light flashing in his eyes. After a long time, everyone finally calmed down. The words of comfort were on their lips, but before they could be spoken, Wang Liner wiped away her tears and said, "Lend me some money." Fox. You've made me confused by this sentence. However, when I think about Wang Liner's pregnancy and childbirth, she must have used up a lot of her savings. Let's put the money aside for now, who the hell are you? Finally I was asked this question. Even though we grew up together, I still felt a little embarrassed. Then he briefly explained the matter. Who could have imagined this would happen? When I first found out I was pregnant, I felt like the sky was falling. Then you won't abort it. Perhaps she felt that what she said was a bit harsh, so she turned her head to look at the 2 little guys who were sucking her thumbs. Well, what I said was a bit harsh. I guess the 2 little guys couldn't hear what I said. The doctor said I'm not suitable for an abortion. Fox was silent. She had never been pregnant, nor had she ever been alone with a big belly. However, she couldn't imagine what Wang Liner was thinking at the time, and how difficult it was for her to live alone with a big belly. They grew up together, so how could she not know Wang Liner's character, and naturally she also knew her family. If my family knew about this, I would be unimaginable. So she could understand why Wang Liner had not contacted her family. But, you stupid girl, you didn't have to contact your family, but you didn't tell me. You don't believe me at all. The fox was very angry and gasped for breath, but his eyes were full of heartache. Also, who the hell is that guy? I'm going to skin him alive. Hey, don't. Wang Liner hurriedly grabbed Fox's hand. She knew Fox was impatient and had anticipated the scene of the meeting, so she asked Bai Yu to go home and rest, and wait for her to explain clearly before meeting again. She whispered, "This is not his fault. You're still protecting him." The fox was surprised. Wang Liner was not a weak character. Although she did want to give birth to the child, how could she not feel resentful? He doesn't know either, and is my classmate. When I found out I couldn't have the abortion, I wanted to tell him, but unfortunately his family situation isn't very good, and he just graduated. Listening to Wang Liner introducing the bastard's family background, the fox also fell silent. Orphan? Just graduated. But this doesn't make me feel better. In fact, I didn't even think about telling him at the beginning, and I didn't think about looking for him after I had the baby. Are you going to be a single mother straight away? Yes, I have graduated from college and am now of marriageable age. If this hadn't happened, my family would have asked me if I had anyone I liked when I went home for the new year. But you know I don't have anyone I like. If it's 2 years later, my family will definitely urge me to get married. That's right. The fox nodded, and then looked at Wang Liner quietly. He had been crying for a while before, and his emotions were a little unstable, but now he looked calm, and he was even smiling when he spoke. So this matter. She glanced at the lunchbox next to her and said, "Then why did you tell that bastard?" Wang Liner was stunned, but when she noticed the fox looking at the lunchbox, she knew that the smart fox had already guessed it. I felt a little embarrassed and told him that I needed to sign a consent form for a cesarean section. No wonder. The fox was startled. He lifted the quilt and took a look, with a distressed look on his face. "Does it hurt?" "Fine." Wang Liner smiled and said, "In fact, I have been the most entangled these days. Although I am angry with Bai Yu because of the pregnancy, as I said just now, this was an accident, not to mention that I gave birth to the child secretly. Moreover, I have also told you about his family. He just graduated, and there are 2 children at once. Even if I tell him, it probably won't be of any use. So that bastard's name is Bai Yu." The fox gnashed his teeth, thinking that he finally knew what this bastard's name was. Wang Liner smiled bitterly, thinking that it seemed that there was a grudge between Fox and Bai Yu. She was moved and said, "Don't you want to know who wrote the poem, The Moon Over the West Tower?" The fox was stunned. Yes, she really liked the song, The Moon Over the West Tower. However, looking at the mysterious smile on Wang Liner's face, her heart moved. No way, it can't be that bastard. You guessed it right, it's Bai Yu. In fact, I didn't expect that he was so talented in writing. We were both graduates of the 20th grade of Huating Drama Academy, and he majored in drama literature. Oh, by the way, his ability to compose music is also formidable. Let me sing a little song for you. After the song Moon Full in the West Tower came out, she had already simulated it in her mind, and hummed it to herself when there was no one around. Now she has memoized it by heart. The red lotus fragrance fades, the jade mat is cold in autumn. The singing voice is not loud, but the melody is beautiful. In addition to her professional courses, Wang Liner also took conch opera as an elective and sang the role of a huadan, so her voice is quite good. Combined with such classic lyrics, it is pleasing to the eye. How about it? Nice. Fox sighed. She had already seen that Wang Liner had not felt wronged at all. She seemed to be very interested in this white jade. Otherwise, when talking about Bai Yu, his speaking speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and his eyes had obvious changes. Wang Liner herself might not have noticed this, but as a bystander, how could Fox not see it? Besides, he also has good handwriting, look. Also, he can tell stories, and his cooking is delicious. Oh, what a pity, I burped from eating so much, it's gone now. The fox just looked at Wang Liner quietly, watching her talk non-stop. My heart sank little by little. She really wanted to ask Wang Liner, "You don't like that bastard, do you?" But she couldn't ask, because if she did, it would directly wake up Wang Liner and make her realize that there are feelings. Although, if you already have a child and you like him it is not a bad thing. After all, marrying and having children with the person you love is a blessing in life. But where's that bastard? What was that bastard thinking? Yes, if what Wang Liner said is true, that bastard is indeed very talented, and since he was favored by Wang Liner, he must be good looking. Since they are alumni of the same class, they must be not very old. 23 or 24, handsome and talented. Do you have a girlfriend now? Besides, can he get married and raise children peacefully? What is his character like? No. Nana is already like this, we must not let her get hurt again. She will take care of this matter. Chapter 22 Mother? He had a good sleep and woke up at exactly 8 o'clock. After taking a shower and brushing his teeth, Bai Yu turned on the computer. HT has been on the board for 2 consecutive days. According to him, the rise will end like this, and the next step should be to kill the pigs. Bai Yu decisively cleared out his inventory and left. Immediately. I've set my sights on a stock that I've been researching these days. WR Energy. WR Energy is priced at 29 yuan per share. Judging from the policies, recent international oil prices, and even industry standards, this stock is likely to see incredible growth. He also noticed that some big investors should have set their sights on WR and were planning to enter the market in the next few days. WR Energy has been half dead for almost half a year, and half a year ago, the price of WR was as high as 45 yuan. This wave of white jade is expected to catch up with the price of half a year ago, and may even soar based on the price of half a year ago. Starting at 9:15, WR showed a small fluctuation, but was quickly pinned to the ground. Bai Yu said nothing and used 10 times leverage to fully invest 13 million. If there is one daily limit up per day, that would be 135. It's even more exciting than robbing a bank. Whether you can buy a house depends on you. I secretly glanced at the group and saw a few people chatting, mostly talking about HT technology. Because it was still rising, many people in the group had joined. Previously, when Bai Yu listed HT, it was eaten up all at once. According to the mentality of a large number of investors who buy when prices rise and not when prices fall, it is likely that a lot of retail investors will flock to HT this time. No wonder so many people jumped off buildings. Some people in the group advocated increasing their holdings, and some even sold their houses. Bai Yu shook his head and asked, if you don't jump off the building, who will? But he just took a look and didn't send any message. As for reminding, that was even more impossible. After changing his clothes, Bai Yu prepared to go out, but just as he was about to open the door, someone knocked on it. When I opened the door, I saw 2 uniformed policemen standing outside. The young lady who was knocking on the door kept her hand suspended in mid-air, as if she wanted to continue knocking. Her expression was stunned, and it was obvious that she didn't expect the door to open so quickly. What's up? Oh, hello, we are from the Ganjiang District Police Station. Are you Bai Yu? The policewoman first showed her ID, introduced herself, and then asked questions. Seeing Bai Yu nod, she breathed a sigh of relief, and then suddenly replaced her expression with a very eager one, as if she was looking at a lucky person who had won hundreds of millions of lottery tickets. It's like this, Mr. Bai. Someone asked us to find someone. The other party provided your information and claimed to be your mother. Bai Yu's grip on the door handle tightened, and his expression became surprised. Mother? In his memory, Bai Yu was an orphan, but he didn't seem to have any recollection of his childhood. Basically, all he could remember were sporadic scenes in the orphanage after he was 3 years old. Of course, he had asked the mother at the orphanage why he was an orphan before. The answers I got were basically that both parents were dead. But now that both parents have passed away, is it really possible that there is no one left at home? For example, grandparents, and parents all have sisters, right? But in the end, I stopped looking for the answer. After all, sometimes the truth is very cruel. But it's already the 23rd or 24th of the year, and suddenly someone comes to tell you that your mother is looking for you. Bai Yu was stunned for just a moment before he recovered. After all, even if she was really the original body's mother, the original body probably wouldn't be too excited. After all, she was already an adult, not to mention that there was no mother's face in her memory at all. The most important thing is that the person inside this body is a mature man of 35 years old, and this man has nothing to do with the mother of this body. Really? What do I need to do then? Liu Qin was dumbfounded. She thought Bai Yu would be very excited when she knew her mother came to see her, and would at least be happy. But so calm? What is this? Hey you? Liu Qin wanted to remind Bai Yu that's your mother. But she was quickly stopped by an older middle-aged policeman behind her, who gave Liu Qin a look that told her to shut up. Liu Qin pouted, but still shut up obediently. It's like this, Ms. Huang hopes to meet you, you see. Before Bai Yu could answer, her cell phone rang. After seeing the incoming call notification, Bai Yu decisively answered the call. After listening to the message on the other end, Bai Yu hung up the phone and then said to the two people who were looking at him with hope, "I'm sorry, I just happened to have something to do. Can we postpone the meeting?" "What? Push it?" Liu Qin was shocked. Of course, she was not the only one. Wang Qiang was also stunned. However, he was older and knew that some things could not be judged by appearance alone. He could see that his mother was anxious, but the problem was that Bai Yu had grown up in an orphanage. Now that she had graduated from college, she was an adult with mature thoughts. What would Bai Yu think if he came to him at this time? Perhaps, he would feel that his peaceful life was disrupted. Or maybe I have been harboring deep resentment towards my parents for the past 20 years. This is understandable. Humph, do you know that if it is confirmed, you will? Liu Qin. Wang Qiang shouted and immediately stopped Liu Qin, then looked at Bai Yu and said with a smile, "Since you have something to do, let's tell them, but can we make an appointment? After all, it has to be pushed, but at least there has to be a time. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay." Watching Bai Yu lock the door and leave, Liu Qin finally couldn't help it. "Brother Wang, why are you stopping me? If I tell him that his mother is the wife of the boss of Weiye, will he still refuse?" Seeing Liu Qin's annoyed look, Wang Qiang shook his head and said, "Didn't you see that Bai Yu had no interest in her mother who suddenly appeared?" Is that so? How is that possible? She's his biological mother." Liu Qin said she couldn't understand. Wang Qiang said, "It's not clear whether she is his biological mother or not, but even if she is, she has made him an orphan for more than 20 years, right?" Liu Qin retorted, "That's not his mother's fault. Maybe he got lost or was sold by human traffickers. His mother must have been very heartbroken over the years." Wang Qiang stared at Liu Qin and said, "You have also been in contact with Ms. Wang. Do you think Bai Yu was abducted?" Liu Qin opened his mouth, as if. "Not really. The police's observation skills must be strong, especially for veteran policemen like Wang Qiang. Of course, the most intuitive thing about this matter is the other party's identity. Weiye Group is the leading electronics company in Singapore. It emerged 20 years ago and has gradually grown into the multi-billion-dollar group it is today. As the boss lady of Weiye Group, Ms. Wang must have been worth hundreds of millions 10 years ago. If that was the case, why didn't she find someone 10 years ago? What's more, the couple are Chinese. If they really want to find their son and bring money to China for investment, wouldn't the higher-ups do their best to help?" Wang Qiang sighed and said, "When it comes to cases involving emotional issues, we just need to be the messenger. It's up to the two parties to decide how to handle it." Chapter 23 Two Idiots. A securities company, Bund branch. Li Qian started moving. Knocked on the team leader's office. "Brother Yang, Mr. Yu has taken action. The leverage is 10 times, and it was lent out by them. They have to keep a close eye on Mr. Yu's account. Once there is a 5% loss, they will take action immediately. Moreover, Mr. Yu's account has never failed from the beginning to now. This time he has raised 10 times the leverage, and everyone really wants to know whether he can continue to avoid failures." Of course, Li Qian has also been marveling at Mr. Yu's keen insight these days. He bought all 800,000 yuan of HT, and HT has been on the rise for 2 consecutive days. Mr. Yu made almost 500,000 yuan from HT. It's only been a few days. Oh, which one did he choose this time? Team leader Yang was looking through a report. When he heard the voice, he looked up and asked, "WR Energy? And it's a full warehouse. What?" Team leader Yang was shocked. More than 10 million was spent on buying WR Energy. He quickly checked and found that WR Energy was being beaten to the ground. This stock seemed to be dying no matter how you looked at it. Why would Mr. Yu buy it? And it was all gone. Hiss, what courage! Team leader Yang was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and was very confused. It is impossible for ordinary people to put all their eggs in one basket, including stocks, funds, and even futures. Looking back at Mr. Yu's investment experience, he only played stocks, and at the beginning, he only held 2 or 3 stocks. But since some time ago, he has been focusing on one stock, and this time he directly invested more than 10 million in WR Energy. Keep a close eye on it and follow the procedure when the time comes. The contract has been signed, there's no point in getting anxious now. Okay. Meet at 5 p.m. at Time Cafe, number 136 Binghe Road, Fanjiang District. The suffix is Liu Qin, so she should be the female police officer. Bai Yu glanced at it but didn't take it too seriously. Of course, he must go to this place, after all, she is the mother of the original person. Young man, do you live in the first floor? The driver was very talkative and started chatting with Bai Yu when he got in the car. No, go and rent a house. Rent a house. The driver raised his eyebrows and said, houses over there are not cheap. Young man, you are not from Huating, right? How old are you this year? Bai Yu was happy, this was a household registration check. But he didn't mind it at all, and basically answered whatever the uncle asked. Oh, you top student, young man, do you want a girlfriend? My daughter is a top student at Renmin University, a high school teacher, tall and good looking, but she's only 3 years older than you. But a woman 3 years older than you is rich, how about that? I knew it. Bai Yu smiled and said, from your handsome appearance, I know that your daughter is beautiful, and she is also a top student at Renmin University. That's not the case. Alas, it's a pity that you just haven't found a son-in-law for me, young man. Har, I can't, I'm married. You got married. The uncle's mood suddenly became low, muttering that good men get married early. Bai Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, he was really afraid that the uncle would say, hey, what's the point of living? Fortunately, the car arrived safely at Yipin. After all, it was a luxury residential area and outsiders couldn't get in at all, but as soon as Bai Yu got out of the car, he saw a familiar figure at the door. Hey, brother, this way. Fang Rongzhong waved at Bai Yu. Next to him was a young man wearing glasses. He didn't look very old, probably younger than Fang Rongzhong, but a little older than Bai Yu. Brother Fang, you're really fast. He just mentioned it yesterday, but why did he call him so early today? Fang Rongzhong is also a typical rich second generation, and he has also taken over the family business. He must be very busy at ordinary times, but he took this matter to heart. Of course, he also knew what Fang Rongzhong meant. Hey, our wives are in the same delivery room, that's fate. Fang Rongzhong patted Bai Yu's arm, then looked at the person beside him and said, come, let me introduce you to Li Jijie, he is my childhood friend. After a brief introduction, the three of them entered Yipin together. The house is not small, it is over 480 square meters, with 4 bedrooms, 3 living rooms and 3 bathrooms. The decoration is luxurious and of good taste. And it looks like there are not many people living there, but it is very clean. I bought this house originally for my wedding, but the wedding fell through, so I stayed here a few times by myself. Li Jijie entered the room and started introducing himself. Bai Yu simply took a quick look at the bathroom and kitchen. Although you are Brother Fang's friend, the rent cannot be reduced. Bai Yu smiled when he heard this. He actually liked dealing with people like this. Okay, their house is nice, I want it, and my contact information, I'll transfer the money to you tomorrow. He spent all his money in the morning and now only had tens of thousands of yuan for emergency living expenses, and he had forgotten about renting a house. But there is no rush. If it really doesn't work, just delay it for 2 days. There will definitely be a fire at WR Energy. At worst, the worst that can happen is that we can sell some stocks at that time. Readily. Li Jijie seemed quite happy too. After all, although he was a rich second generation, his family was very strict with him. Moreover, he had lost a lot of money in stocks recently and he did not dare to tell his family. As they were talking, the phone rang again. Li Jijie smiled at the two of them and then started answering the call. Jijie is just like that, he's quite straightforward, but he's still a nice guy. I'm 3 years older than him, and I beat him up and made him cry several times when he was a kid. Har har. Bai Yu laughed. This kind of childhood friendship is not something you can have when you grow up. Thank you Brother Fang for this time. You? Hey, I know what Brother Fang means, but there's no way I can go to Jingder building. To be more precise, there's no way I can be a cook. Fang Rongzhong still didn't want to give up, and couldn't help asking, $1 million annual salary isn't enough. Bai Yu smiled and said, Brother Fang, do you think I'm that cheap? Fang Rongzhong. He didn't understand what Bai Yu meant, but he seemed to understand it. Only. He couldn't understand Bai Yu, and after asking around, he found out that she had just graduated from Huaxi Opera last year. As for family situation, seems to be an orphan. It was precisely because of this that he felt Bai Yu would not refuse. But now, he was confused. Forget about going to Jinder building, but if we have time, I'll teach you a few tricks to make the signature dish. Fang Rongzhong's eyes lit up and he clapped his hands. That's great. At this moment, Bai Yu, who had been listening with his ears perked up, also heard a few sensitive words. For example, stocks, HT, increasing holdings, and so on. Of course, he wasn't the one eavesdropping, but Li Jijie was right next to them making a phone call without hiding anything from them. After a while, Li Jijie hung up the phone with an excited expression. Brother Fang, the suggestion is to increase the position of HT. Fang Rongzhong frowned. More stocks? We have already invested more than 10 million. Fang Rongzhong was not actually keen on stock trading, but that's how people are, they always want to try it, so the pocket money in his bank card was just lying there, so he thought about giving it a try. Of course, there have been gains and losses over the past few years, but basically it's about the same. However, this time HT skyrocketed, they seized the opportunity. According to the forecast, HT is expected to break through 10 yuan. 10 yuan means 6 daily limits. If it is 20 million, it means more than 10 million yuan in profit. Li Jijie's eyes lit up. Although my family is rich, I earn more than 10 million yuan in a week by myself, so the sense of accomplishment is great. Bai Yu rolled his eyes as he listened. $10. You're dreaming. HT is building this wave of high buildings just to eat fools like you. If you increase your holdings at this time, you will probably be completely trapped. HT Technologies' financial reports have been in the red for a long time. There may be a big crash this time, and the stock may even be directly capped. By then, I'm afraid that another wave of people will be trapped. But Bai Yu did not get involved in Li Jijie and Fang Rongzhong's investment, and did not even speak out to remind them. After all, we have known each other for too short a time and our feelings are too shallow. You said out loud that HT positions cannot be increased and even need to be liquidated quickly. Why would others believe you? Okay, then I'll take another 2 million. Li Jijie gritted his teeth and said, we'll split it in half. If we lose, we'll split it equally. Hey, look, idiot. Chapter 24, Woo. Fox, don't be impulsive. Okay, I want to be impulsive. Fox rolled his eyes. It is said that best friends change after they fall in love, but I didn't expect Wen Liner to change so quickly and so drastically. But she also hoped that Bai Yu's character could pass the test, so that at least Wen Liner would be in a better position. As for family background, there was indeed a big difference between the two of them, but if Bai Yu was really talented, it would only be a little difficult. Besides, they already had a child, and she didn't believe that her uncle and aunt would really be so cruel as to stop them from separating. Lucky boy. Some people who were dissatisfied slandered Bai Yu in their hearts. He just turned around and immediately started teasing the child with a doting look on his face. Oh, these two little guys are so cute, call them godmother. The fox pulled Xiaoanan's white, tender and soft little Jiojio and rubbed it on his face from time to time. She really likes children, especially Wen Liner's children. The two little ones are round and chubby. Unfortunately, they haven't opened their eyes yet, but their skin is already smooth, making people love them. Godmother, you need to show some appreciation. Wang Liner ate an apple and smiled. After the matter was exposed, Fox took a leave of absence and stayed in the hospital last night, ready to wait until Wang Liner was discharged. Hey, I knew you were thinking about my red envelope. But who knew Wang Liner had given birth before coming here? I'll make it up when the baby is 1 month old. Oh, yes, lend me some money. What do you want to borrow money for? As soon as they met yesterday, they talked about borrowing money, and she thought Wang Liner had forgotten about it. Bai Yu said that he would take care of me after I am discharged from a hospital, but I will definitely have to rent a new house by then, and I think living in Epin is also pretty good. First class. Fox was stunned, staring at Wang Liner with a strange look in his eyes. After a while, he said helplessly, he wants to rent in first class. Wang Liner said, just tell me whether you will lend it to me or not. Lend it to me, my dear aunt. The fox was helpless. She didn't know what to say. Why not move in with me? You should rent a new one. After all, you have a child and you'll need a nanny. You won't be able to accommodate him there. As they were talking, the cell phone rang. Wang Liner took a look and saw that it was a message from Bai Yu. Looking at the faint smile on Wang Liner's lips, the fox could only sigh in his heart. I want to see what magical powers this white jade has that it can actually charm our little princess. Come to think of it, will pregnancy make you bigger? His eye swept over Wang Liner's chest, which was heavy. Well, Wang Liner was older than her before she gave birth to the child, and now she is even bigger. So envious. Hey, why don't you give birth to one too? The two have been in a relationship for so many years that they know exactly where the moles are on each other's bodies. TSK, I don't want that. I thought it was you. How shameless. The fox rolled his eyes. Giving birth to a baby? That also requires a man. Wang Liner had given birth to a child, and she felt empty for a moment, but the thought soon dissipated. After all, for a new age strong woman like Fox, getting married and having children are indeed additives to a wonderful life, but it is not to the point where she cannot survive without a man and children. As the two were talking, the door of the ward was pushed open, and Fox stood up. Then he saw a tall and broad-shouldered man walking in. This must be White Jade. He looks like a decent man, and is indeed very attractive to girls, especially the heroic look between his brows and his deep eyes, which give him a maturity that is inconsistent with his age. The fox's eyes were still very sharp and he was very picky, but when he saw Bai Yu, he still exclaimed in his heart, thinking that this might be the best accident in Wang Liner's life. Past. He muttered to himself, but on the surface, he still took 2 or 3 steps forward. You are Bai Yu. He punched Bai Yu in the chest. Although his first impression of Bai Yu was good, how could he just let it go when his sister, who grew up with him, had suffered such a terrible crime? Fox. Seeing the fox punching towards Bai Yu, Wang Liner became anxious, but her reaction was still a little slow, and the fox's punch had already been delivered solidly. But the punch did not land on Bai Yu, but was blocked by a big hand. This must be Sister Fox, hello. Bai Yu had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the fox. Capable. This was Bai Yu's first impression of the fox. Of course, he could also understand the fox's anger. If something like this happened to his sister or elder sister, he might be even more excited than the fox. The punch turned into a handshake, but it was dominated. The fox's mind was blank for a few seconds before he finally reacted, but the other party had already let go. She looked at her palms, and the surprised expression gradually faded away and became solemn, especially her eyes, which contained a hint of shock. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. The fox didn't really want to hurt Bai Yu, so this punch seemed to be very powerful, but in fact it didn't have much strength. As expected, Bai Yu would be knocked back 2 or 3 steps, and his chest would hurt a little, but it would only be a superficial injury. After all, he is her sister's man, and she just wants to vent the anger that has been pent up in her chest. As to whether it would turn out as he expected, the fox had no doubt at all. She is different from other girls because she is a martial artist and she learned the southern Quan from her family. At that time, when Da Hua was in trouble both internally and externally, 13 Taoists from Chaoyang Temple in Jinju Feihu Mountain came down the mountain and practiced Quan, also known as Jinju 13 Styles, Taiji Quan. Her great-grandfather was one of them, and she was considered the 4th generation. Although she was a girl, 3 or 5 big men would never be her opponents. But what just happened? Bai Yu's palm actually blocked her attack. Although he only used less than 1/3 of his strength, it was still too easy. Not simple. This White Jade is not simple. She took a deep breath and smelled a fragrance, which immediately made her hungry stomach. Then I saw Bai Yu asking Wang Liner about her health in a friendly manner, and then opened the lunchbox she brought over. Come and try the crab soup dumplings and fish soup at Jingdalu. When he was talking to Fang Rongjong and Li Jijie, he called Jingdalu to place an order for food. After he found the house in Yipin, he hurried to get some food and then came here in a hurry. After all, I haven't seen my child for almost 17 hours, and I miss him quite a bit. Wow, I'm just hungry. Wang Liner had a big appetite and waved to the fox. Fox, come and eat with us, there's so much. Seeing this, the fox smiled and moved closer. Knowing the fox was there, Bai Yu bought 2 servings. While eating, the fox was secretly observing Bai Yu. She was sure that Bai Yu was also a martial artist, and his skills were quite good, but she didn't know where he learned from. Find an opportunity to try it. Fox has been active since childhood and has a special liking for ancient martial arts. He also has good talent, otherwise he would not have practiced since childhood. More than 10 years of hard work is no joke. But Bai Yu didn't care at all, his attention was all on the 2 little guys. After washing my body, I started applying talcum powder and never stopped. Seeing this, the fox heaved a long sigh in his heart. It seemed that there should be nothing wrong with the person. Of course, the time was too short and he couldn't draw conclusions so early. Chapter 25, Get Card. Thank you, Fox. I thought you were really going to give him a warning. Seeing Bai Yu busying around, Wang Liner ate her soup dumplings and thanked him quietly. She knew the fox inside and out. Not to mention Bai Yu alone, even if there were 3 or 5 more, they would not be a match for the fox. Thank me. The fox understood that she had let him go. However, she did let go. After all, she only used less than 1/3 of her strength. But she had no idea that Bai Yu was also a martial artist. After eating this meal, which he didn't know if it was breakfast, the fox yawned. She stayed by Wang Liner's bedside last night, but actually she hardly slept. After all, Wang Liner had done something so big this time that she still couldn't believe that those 2 cute little guys were actually born by Wang Liner. The bank card was given to Wang Liner, but Wang Liner called Bai Yu to her side. Here, this card is for you. Give me. Aren't you going to rent a house in Ipin? I'm going to be discharged from the hospital in a few days, and it's a good thing that Fox is here to keep me company. You can look for a house these few days. It is not difficult to find a house in Huating, but the difficulty lies in choosing Ipin. Fox lives in Ipin, but rarely sees other owners, and Wang Liner doesn't want Fox's help in this matter. She also wanted to see how capable Bai Yu was. Oh, it's money. I was originally planning to sell some stocks tomorrow and then supply Li Jijia, but I didn't expect that Wang Lina already had her bank card ready. Is this allowing yourself to be a gigolo? Bai Yu laughed and took it naturally. You really took it? The fox said in pretended shock. Wang Lina reacted immediately. She shouldn't have given Bai Yu the bank card in front of Fox. Both men and women have self-esteem, not to mention that boys have stronger self-esteem. The fox's words might make the atmosphere awkward. But why can't I take the card given by the kid's mother? He said it as a matter of course, without changing his expression. The fox choked. In fact, she was quite impressed when she saw Bai Yu taking the card. Self-esteem. If a man still clings to his so-called self-esteem at this time and refuses to use a woman's money, then he is definitely not a good man. Okay, I want to eat an apple. Wang Liner interrupted quickly and felt relieved. Looking at Bai Yu's expression, she didn't seem to feel embarrassed. Bai Yu installed the card, picked up the knife beside him, and said, Actually, I've already found a house. Brother Fang called me this morning, and I went to see it before I came here. It's a nearly 500 square meter, 4-bedroom house with nice decoration. The landlord's name is Li Jijie. He said that he had planned to use this house for his wedding, but something happened and delayed the plan, so it's been empty ever since. I briefly talked about my house hunting trip in the morning as if in a casual conversation. Wang Liner was stunned for a moment, then asked with surprise, which building is it in? Number 3. Number 3. Which floor? 18th floor. R. Wang Liner was very excited and looked at the fox with shining eyes. That's not. The fox was also a little surprised and said, That's really fate. I'm on the 17th floor. Bai Yu was also stunned. Wouldn't this make them closer? It sounds better to be close. It will be convenient to visit each other in the future. The 2 girls were very excited. I didn't know what they were talking about, but they were whispering to each other from time to time. The fox noticed that Bai Yu held the knife very steadily, and the peeled apple skin was surprisingly consistent in width, thickness. What amazing knife skills! I was even more confused. This guy. It always feels special. Naturally, it is extraordinary. Especially the knife skills. After all, Bai Yu has the reputation of being the world's best chef, which naturally includes his amazing knife skills, as well as his brain technology, which also includes knife-holding skills. With the double stacking, he could cut off thousands of pieces of flesh from a person without taking his life. There was nothing to entertain herself in the ward, especially since Wang Liner was in the recovery period, but perhaps because she had confessed to Fox and there was one more person to bear the burden, she didn't feel sleepy at all today. Looking at the mobile phone is definitely not allowed, so Wang Liner wanted to listen to Bai Yu telling stories again. Of course, the intention is also to let the fox listen. Bai Yu did not refuse and continued with what he had said earlier. The fox became more and more curious about Bai Yu. She thought that Wang Liner was exaggerating when she said that Bai Yu was a good storyteller, but after listening to her, she felt that Wang Liner was right. A lot of things can be revealed from storytelling, such as eloquence, literary talent, and logical thinking. Bai Yu didn't even stutter when he told the story, and it was very coherent. What does this mean? This shows that this story has gone through his mind countless times. This is wonderful. If this is written, it should be publishable. The fox looked curious and wanted to remind Bai Yu, if you have such talent, why don't you take this job? Wang Liner said, if you don't write, I will. Write it. Bai Yu didn't care and just thought Wang Liner was joking. The time spent chatting passed so quickly that when Bai Yu saw the incoming call alert, his expression was stunned. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon so soon. What's wrong? You should take a rest first, I have something to deal with. Bai Yu didn't want to tell Wang Liner about the search for his relatives for the time being. After all, he didn't know whether they were relatives or not, and he didn't really want to have anything to do with this mother who suddenly appeared. Watching Bai Yu go out, Wang Liner didn't think much about it and secretly held the phone in her hand. When she said she wrote it herself, she wasn't just talking. Wang Liner has a special skill, which is that she never forgets what she sees, and of course, she never forgets what she hears. These days she has been pestering Bai Yu to tell her a story, and she even knows what the story is called. The Legend of Lu Xiaofeng. I have listened to several units. Since they are willing to move forward together, she will help Bai Yu take the first step. She planned to write down The Legend of Lu Xiaofeng from memory and then upload it to the novel website to see the response. What if it becomes an overnight success? I told you not to play with your phone, why didn't you obey? When the fox saw Wang Liner flipping through the phone, he immediately went over to snatch it away. Wang Liner quickly held his hand, looking weak. Fox, I'm almost recovered now, I just want to play for a while, okay? The fox couldn't bear to see Wang Liner like this, so he could only sigh and let go. By the way, you two can't keep doing this. Bai Yu isn't that old, he can't really stay at home to take care of the kids, right? And you will definitely have to work after you recover, so what about the child? Ask an aunt. Even if you hire an aunt, it won't work if there's no one at home, so have you ever considered confronting your family? Wang Liner sat there blankly after hearing this, and said for a while, I haven't thought that far yet, I can only take it one step at a time. The fox said, for things like this, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. After all, being discharged from the hospital is the busiest time. Taking care of 2 children is no joke. I'm afraid that this will have to continue until the child is 3 years old. We can't just stay at home with the child for 3 years. Neither of them can afford to waste time. Chapter 26 HT Limit Down. Push forward a few hours. A securities company, Bund Branch. Li Qian, who had been keeping an eye on the market, took a deep breath. Because of HT technology, the price hit the limit down. Wow, HT actually hit the limit down, can you believe it? Oh my god, it's over, I increased my position. Oh my god, I have a client who just invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's over, the bankers and institutions are ripping off the retail investors. It's getting noisy. At this time, Li Qian quickly looked for an account. Mr. Jade. And when he saw Mr. Yu's transaction order, he was even more shocked. It was sold yesterday. She only knew that Bai Yu had invested all his money in WR Energy, but she didn't pay attention to whether he had any left in HT. Only then did she realize that he had cleared out all his HT stocks yesterday. This is a god-level operation. Is this due to inside information or a keen sense of smell? It doesn't look like inside information. After all, I left a little early and the stock price rose today. Hi, it's amazing. The stock market had been closed for a long time, but he had been chatting with Wang Liner and Fox in the afternoon, so he had no time to read the news. There are only 2 stocks he is focusing on now. One is HT Technology and the other is WR Energy. After all the WR Energy has been used up, so this is the top priority. It was 29 yuan when the market opened and 29.12 when the market closed. The highest point is 29.57. The increase is not large, but it has stopped the decline. It looks like it will be soon, but I don't know how many daily limits it will hit. With a clear mind, Bai Yu looked at HT Technology in his self-selected column. When it was opened, a cliff-like line came into view. Hiss, it's pouring out. HT Technology was doing well in the morning. When the market opened, the stock price was 8.99. At 11 o'clock, it rose to 9.33. Before the morning market closed, the price stopped at 9.24. This is already a very scary number, and breaking the 9-point mark is consistent with the predictions of many experts. Almost everyone is optimistic about the surge in HT technology, and some even suggest that the peak of HT technology will not be 10 yuan, but 20 yuan. As a result, as soon as the market opened in the afternoon, many retail investors poured in again. As a result, as soon as the market opened, the price immediately soared from 9.24 to 9.57. Judging from the initial 5 minutes, this is clearly another wave of daily limit increases. But no one expected that just around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a large number of orders suddenly appeared and professional institutions withdrew. The stock price plummeted. In just 5 minutes, HT technology, which was originally expected to soar and almost reach the daily limit, actually fell to the limit. It's almost a series of amazing operations. It happened so quickly that retail investors had no time to react and were trapped. Well, I'm afraid a lot of people are going to jump off the building now. Bai Yu sighed. The stock market is a killing field. Not to mention ordinary people, even some institutions will become cannon fodder. Ordinary people wouldn't even have a chance to resist when faced with this kind of situation. Look at that force. There is no need to check at all. After all, this incident happened several hours ago. HT posted several messages in a row, and the shareholders below complained and cursed. Sharp blade. This is a foreign institution and also a stock trading guide for many people. Countless people were watching the movements of the sharp blade and following suit. It looks like this is a foreign account that specializes in harvesting shares. Bai Yu didn't care, it had nothing to do with him. There were messages flashing under the app, and Bai Yu clicked on it. Little brother, something big has happened. Are you there? Damn it, why did HT hit the limit down? Are you okay, little brother? Little brother. The messages were sent by the uncle who had taken the taxi with me earlier. He sent more than 10 messages in a row, and there were actually a lot of words of comfort at the end. After all, Bai Yu had told the uncle before that he owned hundreds of thousands of HT shares, worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. Now HT has become a pig-killing scheme, and people are completely trapped, and there is a high possibility that they will not be able to recover. This uncle is quite kind-hearted. Bai Yu knew that the other party probably thought that he had not escaped yet, and his million-dollar dream was ruined, so he was so upset that he went to the rooftop. Bai Yu couldn't just ignore such a kind-hearted person. Yes, I'm fine. Uncle, you still have some HT shares, how are you doing? I didn't expect to receive a reply so quickly. Hey little brother, you're okay? I'm relieved. I feel bad, but I only have a few thousand shares, which only amounts to tens of thousands of dollars. If it's gone, it's gone. But little brother, you have to be more open-minded. Bai Yu was happy and continued typing. Don't worry, uncle, I sold it yesterday. Sold it yesterday. Oh my god, is this true? You are so lucky. Bai Yu sent a screenshot of the transaction. Surprise. Oh my god, you made $500,000 in HT. The uncle was obviously stunned, and felt that all his 3 perspectives had been shattered. It's okay. It's okay? I don't know if you've checked the group. This time, HT hit the limit down. Many people in the group turned green. Some people invested hundreds of thousands, but I don't know what the situation will be like tomorrow. Bai Yu thought about it and decided to give the uncle a reminder. After all, he was just a shareholder, not someone like Li Jijie and Fang Rongjong who would take out tens of millions. If it were the two of them, Bai Yu would definitely not open his mouth so easily. You should sell all your HT quickly, because I think HT will continue to hit the limit down. Is this true? Hey, you're right, you've made $500,000 from HT, you must have better vision than me. Hey, little brother, which one are you holding now? Can you recommend one to me? This is a bit embarrassing. Bai Yu is not without confidence, but everything has cause and effect. A casual word from him may very likely change the original life trajectory of others. How about this, I'll help you choose a few safer funds. Bai Yu was not going to tell the uncle about WR Energy, a hot stock. After all, ordinary people couldn't afford it. However, some funds with an annual return of 7 or 8 points and are more stable can be recommended to the other party. This way you can also filter out the options. After all, if the uncle is too greedy, you don't need to contact him again in the future. Funds? I also play with funds, but I never understand how to play them. But it's fine this way. I don't care about making a lot of money. It's just that it's uncomfortable to see the money lying in the bank card. And you know, the interest rate of the bank is not very high. TSK. It feels so uncomfortable to see the money lying in the bank card. Uncle, you are being a bit fair, sigh. I recommended a few funds to the uncle, and then the car arrived, so I put away my phone. Number 136, Binghe Road, Ganjiang District, Time Cafe. The door looked rather simple and ancient, and Bai Yu pushed it open and walked in. The noisy sounds outside gradually faded away and were finally isolated outside the heavy glass door. The environment inside was dark and quiet, with groups of guests whispering to each other, and there were also young couples sitting in the corner. His eye swept over and finally stopped at the woman sitting by the window with her back to the door. Chapter 27 Meeting. The woman's hair was soft and tied into a small curl. She was dressed up carefully. I don't know what brand her clothes were, but judging from the material and fabric, they must be very expensive. After walking a few steps towards her, I could see that she was standing straight and sitting upright, so she must have had a good education. Finally, he caused a noise when he walked over. The woman raised her head, revealing a soft and calm face. Judging from his skin and face alone, he should be in his 30s, but his actual age should be a few years older. She has a long neck and an elegant temperament. Two exquisite earrings swayed gently, and her eyes are shrewd and bright. When their eyes met, Bai Yu understood. This is Ms. Huang. And this Ms. Huang knows herself, even. Seen myself. But who are you? The light in the woman's eyes flashed away, and turned into a look that contained a hint of excitement and suspicion. Ms. Huang. Knowing that he had found the right person, Bai Yu sat opposite him. Bai Yu? Huang Qin's expression gradually became excited. His beautiful eyes kept looking at Bai Yu's face. Suddenly, he grabbed Bai Yu's hand and said, "It's really you, my child." Bai Yu pulled his hand away and asked, "Are you so sure that I am your child?" Huang Qin's eyes turned red, and he said in a trembling voice, it must be my child, you look a lot like your father." Are they similar? Bai Yu didn't he know, after all, his original self had no impression of his parents at all. Big eyes, double eyelids, and especially the position of the corners of the mouth, they are exactly the same. Huang Qin was so excited that tears came out of his eyes. He clenched his hands tightly on the table and his voice was trembling. In his 2 lives, Bai Yu had never encountered such a situation, but he didn't say anything, just kept staring at Huang Qin, staring at her expression, listening to her talk, completely treating her as someone to confide in. Okay, now I finally found you, kid. Come back to Xinzhou with your mother. Your Uncle Wang will definitely treat you like his own child and love you dearly. Uncle Wang? Bai Yu raised his eyebrows and said, I really want to know about my father. Huang Qin's expression froze, although it was only for a moment, but Bai Yu still noticed it. She sighed and fell into memories again, saying, back then, your father and I were just dating, and my family didn't agree. I didn't expect to get pregnant with you. In those days, many people in remote areas didn't get a marriage certificate. I thought that was it, but I never expected that a mudslide would flood half of the village that summer. Your father was gone, and I thought you were gone too. Later, your Uncle Wang went to Southeast Asia, and I followed him, and eventually ended up in Singapore. Over the years, I have always missed you. But I have too many sad things in this land of Dahua, so I haven't been back for so many years. And your Uncle Wang has relatives here, so he comes back every few years to worship his ancestors, and he has investments in his hometown, Jinju. It was a coincidence that I knew you. It was your Uncle Wang who came back and told me that he had been to the village back then. He said that several children were rescued and sent to an orphanage. I kept looking for them afterwards, but unfortunately, Talai village had changed drastically, with tall buildings everywhere. Fortunately, I found a staff member at the village clinic at the time, who said that they had indeed rescued several children. The youngest was only a few months old, and the oldest was 3 or 5 years old. The older one was sent to an orphanage, and the younger one was sent to the county hospital. But so many years have passed, and the county hospital has long since moved to a new location. After asking around, I finally found a retired nurse. According to her, the child had been in the hospital, but because of the cold, his health had not been good. It took half a year to cure, but the child was too young and had sequelae, so he was kept in the hospital. Because there were many nurses in the hospital, they basically took turns to look after him. When he was almost 3 years old, the county hospital was restructured, and the child was sent directly to the city welfare home. Sunshine Welfare House. You still remember it? Bai Yu nodded. In his original body's memory, the images of Sunshine Welfare Home were the most numerous, which was enough to show that he had deep feelings for Sunshine Welfare Home. He was placed in an orphanage when he was 3 years old. Someone wanted to adopt him, but Bai Yu didn't want to leave, so he grew up in the orphanage. Kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school. He completed 9 years of compulsory education, and because he had good grades, the school also paid for his high school tuition and living expenses. Later, he worked hard and was admitted to the Huating Academy of Drama. The academy gave him a bonus, and people from the city also paid for his university tuition. To put it bluntly, although he is an orphan and has no parental love, the welfare home provides him with great financial support. I found you because I found the Sunshine Welfare Home. Huang Qin took a deep breath and stared at Bai Yu, as if he was afraid that Bai Yu would disappear. Bai Yu said, I won't go to Xingzhou. After all, I am a Chinese, and all my friends are in Huating and Jinju. Now that I'm an adult and you have a new family, it's all right for both of us to be well. Huang Qin was stunned, as if she didn't expect Bai Yu to say such a thing, but she was not in a hurry and smiled, okay, I'll listen to you. By the way, where do you live now? I bought you a house in Shinju Garden, you can move there. Bai Yu shook her head, no, I'm doing well now. If you want to stay in Huating, you can call me anytime. Huang Qin was silent, staring at Bai Yu with her beautiful eyes, and said after a while, your uncle Wang is also planning to move his business to Dahua these years, and he will definitely invest in Huating when the time comes. The words were very obscure, but Bai Yu understood them. He checked the time and said, I have an appointment. How about I treat you to a meal some other day? Bai Yu didn't want Ms. Huang Qin to waste her time. So he found an excuse to leave. Huang Qin watched Bai Yu leave with an unpredictable look in his eyes. After a long time, she took out her cell phone and made a call. Soon, the phone was connected, and a man's voice said, how is it? Huang Qin said, it's a bit unexpected. It was quite unexpected. She thought Bai Yu would be very happy and excited, and she had hinted many times that Uncle Wang had a wealthy family, but Bai Yu was indifferent. So she later directly said that she would invest in Huating, which was just short of telling Bai Yu directly, you're fine, I have a property here and you can inherit it. But Bai Yu still didn't even ask. Why? Huang Qin could only feel that Bai Yu was angry. Is that so? There was silence on the phone for a moment, and then he said, take your time. Kai can still hold on, but I don't believe he can withstand the temptation. The temptation of a large group worth tens of billions is unimaginable even for an ordinary person, let alone an orphan. My poor Kai. Huang Qin burst into tears when she mentioned Kai. She cried for a while, and her eyes were full of determination. Then I will stay in Huating for the time being. I will bring Bai Yu back to Xingzhou as soon as possible. Well, you should be careful. I have already contacted a person from the Huating government, and I will make it convenient for you when the time comes. After hanging up the phone, Huang Qin's eyes became even more determined.